our online platform. Yes, you can do so because we are big on digital. Yes, we are so big. You can do so on our website. That is www.rgk.co.ke. If you get onto our website, you're able to tune in and follow the show. And also, for those of you who love using Twitter, that is X, you are also not left behind. That is, you are able to follow the show as it happens, the conversations right here, and you're also able to participate in this conversation through our platform. That is through our Twitter handles. That is at Radio Gen KE. Yeah, you'll be able to follow the conversation, and also on our Facebook platforms. Also, you are able to follow the conversation as it continues. So please, you are welcome. I hope you had a great week, just like mine here. Wiki yangu imekuwa njema kabisa, kila kitu imekuwa shwari kabisa, and therefore that is why we are here, making sure that we inform you just in case you missed any news. Please don't worry, we got you covered. And today I am joined by two guests. One is yet to arrive, but the other one is already here. Victor is going to introduce himself so that you can get to know him better. I just know what he does and just simply the name and a bit of what he does. So he's going to introduce himself better, and then now we can start our conversation.
Thank you for having me. My name is Maobe Victor Nyanyuki. I'm the CIC. CIC stands for the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters. And I'm a young person of this country, born and raised in Kenya. Yes.
You had to insist that you're born and raised in Kenya.
By birth.
Yeah, basically a lot of us, I mean, even myself here, I'm born and raised here in Kenya. Yeah, so basically having been born and lived in Kenya for all these years, I'm so sure that you know quite a lot of things about our country.
Yeah, true. I'm up to date.
We know a lot of things because some of us were born during maybe a different regime. Yeah. And right now we are in a different regime. Yeah. And therefore, even growing up, maybe we grew up in different regimes, and therefore we can notice different things from the different regimes that we were born in, raised in, and right now where you are right now. Yeah. So Victor, you're so much welcome to Generation Report.
Thank you.
Yeah. Today you're going to help me serve the listener.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to help me serve the listener today with the hottest news of what happened this week. And starting to start us off, let's look at what happened, especially with, or we can just wait. We can hold on that one for Museveni because it is a very hot debate about what the statements that Museveni issued about the ocean, and also about those the Kenyans, the Kina Bob and Nicholas, who were kidnapped. And I remember sometimes the Ugandan government refuted, and they said that they denied that they are in possession of these two Kenyans. Yes. But later on, we are seeing Museveni coming out and confessing and saying that yes, I had put them in a fridge, not and I think the word fridge did not sit right with Kenyans. And I've had so many analysts, so many people give different opinions about the fridge issue. Yeah, saying Museveni is one leader who likes using metaphors, and well, it is good to use them, but sometimes I feel like metaphors also have their limit. Yeah, there are some places that you really don't need to use them. Yeah, because it won't sit right with people, and sometimes it might be taken out of context. So basically, that is where the problem sits. And of course, as we wait for the other person, let's look at what the president has done this week. Our president is usually a very busy man.
True. He rarely sits down.
Yeah, rais wetu ako busy sana trying to develop the country, to grow the country, to work for Kenyans. And like literally every week there are projects that he's doing, projects that he's launching, the promises of projects that he'll do, a lot. a lot. He has a lot. Actually, he has a lot, and of course, we expect that as the head of state of a country like Kenya. A country like Kenya, running a country like Kenya is not a joke.
Yeah, true. It's difficult. Okay, what I have to say is that we are in an era where the president keeps on launching and introducing new projects. When we look back, there are projects which are already stalled, and we are never updated about the progress of the projects per se. Because when we had the broad-based government the other day, before the passing on of ODM party leader Raila Odinga, may his soul rest in peace, people believed that now Luo Nyanza is going to be the new, it's going to be the new economic hub for this country. But is that what we are really seeing? Now it's shifting from Luo Nyanza, it's going to Kambani. So these are just, it's a political, it's just like an excuse of trying to meet the people. As the head of state, you need to keep track of what is going on in the country. We have ministers. Once a project has been launched, you need to receive a report and say that this project was completed. But when we look at the situation in, let's say, Luo Nyanza, projects have been initiated. However, there are no conclusive reports to show that indeed this project was started, this amount X was allocated, and these are the results. Now, the biggest challenge that we are grappling with as a country is unemployment. And this unemployment is especially among the young people, because if you look at our population, majority of us are young. We are 35 years and below. Look at the Gen Z generation. There are so many are still in school, are waiting to graduate. So all these projects, we spend billions on these projects, but when you come to the results, what is the absorption rate? What is the absorption rate of this unemployment, for instance? How many jobs has this government created? We are now around 21 months to elections. How many projects have they concluded, and what is the rate of unemployment currently? So in my opinion, these meetings are not meetings for development. Rather, they are just political meetings. The president is on a campaign mode. It's just that he's trying to do it in a smart way of saying that I'm bringing development to this area. The other time we saw the Nakuru governor launching a tap. By the time she was opening, there was no running water.
Oh yes, I saw that. Niliona.
So what was the intention? The intention was not to launch the tap or to provide water.
Not to provide a solution to the people.
No, it was to meet those people and try to talk to them. This is an excuse, you're using state resources, you're going to meet people, and at the end there are no results out of what we've seen. How do we call them? Roads. You launch a road, there are machines there. After you've left, they follow you back, and that road never proceeds. What happens? There's a lot of bureaucracies in government that at the end of it all, 5 years will be over, but the Kenyan, the real Kenyan, or rather the Mama Mboga, the Boda Boda guy, or the Wanjiko, will not benefit from the so-called projects.
Okay. I see. I get your point. Pale unaposema kwamba rais anakuja ana launch mashine ziko pale. Kwa kweli wakazi wa pale wenyeji wanaamini kwamba rais ameleta project hapa na amelaunch a project, so we are expecting it to start or maybe to continue, but unasema later on mashine zinamfuata. Kwa lugha ya mtaani inaitwa vipindire. You just come, unakuja, una launch kitu. You're just after the perception. Unapiga kipindi. Ni kama una act. So what you want is that perception to go that, the president brought ABCD. The government has projects, of course. The previous government, the other day we saw the former president pledging with this government to conclude the projects that he started, because he had concluded the project that Kibaki had started. When you look at this government, what is, do we have a certain procedure in which project A, project B? Right now, they are talking about energy. They're saying they want to produce, 10,000 more watts of electricity and so on.
this brings us to the question, we become suspicious, especially when this government starts talking of a problem in a way that they're trying to find a solution. You start becoming suspicious. What is it that they want to do? Is it another Adani deal that is coming up? Because we are allocating billions and billions of shillings to this project, but they end up being cash cows. Look at, a country like Singapore. They are not talking about importing electricity. They are talking about turning waste into electricity. You can look at the amount of waste that is generated in the Nairobi as a county. Just take Nairobi as Nairobi as a county.
Because you are talking of how many millions
tons
of people.
Yeah. There is a heavy population in Nairobi.
Yes.
So all that waste should be converted into electricity. But who is willing to do that? No one is willing to do that. Even waste management is a problem.
Actually, that is what I was about to point out. Kwa sababu, for the longest time, the issue of waste management in our country has been, especially in Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, imekuwa ni challenge sana. Because, of course, I remember there was a time there were the accusations of cartels. Yeah, because that is a million business deal. Stories za kuweka managing waste in our country. Hiyo ni biashara. So I remember wakati fulani hapo kulikuwa na a lot of issues in Nairobi County kwa sababu ya waste management. So now when you talk of like other countries being able to transform the waste that they have in their, they get from their countries to something that is more beneficial to the community, like for example power, then it gets us thinking as a country, don't we have these brains?
Actually what happens is not that we don't have the brains. It's because we are in the third phase of revolution in this country. Let me now bring this home. I said I'm the commander-in-chief of the Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters. I have a reason for that. The first struggle was to fight for independence.
Sure.
The second one was to fight for multipartyism and democracy, which Raila Odinga and the generation has concluded. The third one is to fight for economic liberation. And right now, if you look at this country, those in positions of power, they're actually fighting for their own individual economic freedom, and they're leaving out the people. That is what is happening. So when you find cartels, coming in the ways of basic, these are basic services that we need. And we cannot run away from the issue of waste. Because look around Kilimani, in Kilimani so many buildings are going up. That tells you that the population is increasing and it's ballooning each and every day.
Sure.
When you look at the outskirts of the city, look at Kajiado County, look at Kiambu, look at Machakos, the population is really growing and those towns are mushrooming up. Waste is something that we cannot run away from. It has to be produced, and at the end, we must find ways of solving that. How do we recycle this waste? So when these cartels come in, this brings us to the issue, the broader issue that we are now facing in this country. We should ask ourselves, is capitalism really working, right? Why am I asking this question? William Ruto is busy. When you look at, according to statistics, our debt, national debt, has crossed the 55% mark. We're actually at 65%. That's an extra of 10%. Now, that is above the ceiling which was set by the laws of this land. That tells you that we are borrowing. And now they're talking about energy. That tells you that they're about again to borrow, World Bank held some loan, which is, it gave conditions for it to be disbursed. All these issues boil to, are we really comfortable with capitalism? Is it really working in our context, right? What is the alternative that we have? William Ruto is busy building a bourgeoisie community or economy. It's going to be the people who control the means of production in this country. They are actually the people who are, they are the people again who are controlling the state. And when the bourgeoisie control the state, they are going to come up with laws because these people, they have, we've delegated the role to do what? To make laws to them. We've delegated the roles to oversight those laws, and we've also delegated the role of implementing those laws. So when you look around, when we are selling state departments, you know, look at KPC, it has been sold off. Actually, I was hearing that the Nairobi showground, Trade Fair Center, that field has already been sold off. It's just that we are waiting for, you know, official confirmation. Some Chinese people have already taken it. So we are selling state assets, and when we sell these state assets, we are selling them to individuals. We are empowering individuals more than we are empowering the citizens. So what is left of the poor, or the Kenyans, the real Kenyans now, the Wanjikos, is to wake up very early in the morning, to go and find work, sell your labor, come back with the peanuts that you get, so that you can afford these basic needs. Because those who control the means of production, they're the people who are determining the prices and the cost of living. So in the end, when you look at what is happening in this country, a lot of projects have been launched. We borrowed a lot of money. Yes. But can we get value for that? How do we borrow when we have the capacity to utilize the little that we have and maximize on it, so that we can, you know, we can get maximum results? So the issue of cartels, the issue of what, those are just, this is a bourgeoisie country. And actually the current president is promoting that so much. You know, he said he was going to form a government of Mama Mboga, Boda Boda. Right now there are laws which parliament passed. Actually, the Boda Boda guys are crying out here. You know,
every other person is crying.
The Boda, they've come for them now. You need to be registered in a SACCO. You're given a unique identification number and wherever. So they want to bring them to the tax bracket. So the government has already overexploited the formal, how do we call them? The formal sector. Now they want to go for the informal sector. The biggest challenge is most people run away from the formal sector, because honestly in Kenya, I've done architecture, but honestly, if I go practicing architecture versus a boda person who makes 2,000 shillings a day, you'll find that that guy lives comfortably. He's not taxed the way I'm taxed, right?
But let me ask you a question, because I think in our country, matters of taxation is quite important, because of course every other country that would want to rely on themselves, if you want to cut our debts outside, of course, we must rely on ourselves in terms of our production, in terms of also paying taxes as citizens. So some of, like, for example, the registration, because I feel like most of the time tunapenda pia kupinga vitu zingine ambazo pia zina msaada kwetu kama wa Kenya, because when you look at the registration, like boda you are being registered, we are witnessing a lot of accidents. Maajali zinafanyika. When you follow up, you cannot even be able to, like, there's no accountability, you get. So to some extent, some of the laws that zinaekwa, zingine zinasaidia, lakini kuna zingine ambazo zinamfinyilia mwananchi. So I feel like sometimes sisi tunapinga sana mpaka zile zinatusaidia, tunasahau tunapinga mpaka zenye zinatusaidia.
Okay, what I have to say about that is it's not bad to register the boda people and try to bring order in the boda sector.
Yes.
But now the question that comes in is this: you are the state, right? If you look around, the number of boda riders in this country, it's surging. It's really high, right?
Sure.
Boda is the new mjengo. The old mjengo is now boda, right? As a government, before introducing these laws, of course, the ownership of the bikes is known, right? You cannot just buy a bike out of nowhere. Your details, registration and everything has to be done. But now you've come down, yes, you passed these laws. They're so beautiful on paper. And then you come into the implementation part of it. What is the strategic plan on implementing these laws? For instance, you're saying that people should be registered on stages. That's good, and it has been there, you know? If you've been walking around, you will see people written, Kileleshwa number 050 something, right?
Yes.
Now, the problem where it comes in is this. As the government, what kind of plan do you have? Or rather, maybe let's say, we've given this. For instance, let me share this. you are the state.
Yes.
And you've said that the number of accidents, the border accidents, has really risen. How do we solve this problem? Of course, registration is part of it. But besides that, do we produce even the gears in which these people, do you provide the solution and in the process try to do what? To elevate these people to such kind of policies that you're trying to pass? Because look at how, the border sector, you can imagine how many riders we have in this country, for instance.
There are many.
There are many.
Yes.
If the government really wanted to create employment, it would be very easy. These people will need protective gears.
Yes.
They will need helmets, reflectors and everything. These bikes will need spares and everything. And these bikes are even not produced locally. Most of them are just imported from outside.
Sure.
So if the government is really serious about the border sector, we are not saying it's bad to come up with those policies to bring order in it, because it's the role of the government to protect properties and lives.
Yes.
So when you bring order, you cap the incidents of theft and so on and accidents, right? But are we taking this sector so seriously? Are we investing in it first before getting results out of it? Because the police officer, next time a police officer will come for me and say, okay, hauna reflector, and hii reflector yako iko registered in a SACCO, the government is just ready to make money by registering the SACCO and so on, but they are not ready to come up with frameworks to ensure that as we welcome new people into this industry, we are welcoming them with a new outfit, of trying to bring order and decency in this sector. Despite the registration, have the accidents stopped? Are they going down? So we are actually not solving that problem. They are making something out of the problem. That is the problem. That is the major issue that we have in this country.
Victor, now let me maybe ask you a question. So, what alternatives or what solution do you think now the government should bring? For example, in the border sector, now that we are talking about, we are saying registering is not going to reduce accidents. Well, that is debatable. We are saying that order must be there. Because of course the government has a responsibility to protect life and property, right? But then now, what else do you think now the government should do? Because I remember there is this time when the president was launching the solar, the electric bikes. Actually, today I used one, the electric bikes.
I own one.
But you own one, and I know there are a lot of challenges even with the electric motorbikes that were introduced. Because looking at when, for example, when there is no sun or when there is no power, most of the time them usually serve. And I remember some other time also border going out and calling on the manufacturers. Actually, they addressed the manufacturers together with the government, so that now they can be able to come together and see how they can be coming up with maybe the engines or something to ensure that if they are using electricity,
there's an alternative.
There is an alternative. It's not that nianze safari hapa, nimepata order, nataka kutoka hapo kwenda tuseme Mlolongo kule, and then I cannot reach there because motorbike inaishia nini? Charge kwa njia. So to increase even the capacity. Yeah?
Actually, that's a very nice question, and you're asking it to the right person, because I do deliveries myself.
Okay.
And I use an electric bike, which is a Spiro one. And the challenge that you're saying, I'm facing them. I'm in that sector.
Okay.
Right? But the first, before we get to the second debate, the first one, the challenge that we are having about these policies, the riders were never involved. In fact, most riders are just being shocked that there are new guidelines in place, right? So there was no public participation. However, electric bikes, they purely rely on the KPLC power, right? And this KPLC power, we outsource it.
Of course.
And
yes.
of course, we have a shortage. So I've gone severally to a swapping station, and I'm told, no, we don't have batteries. And that time I have a backlog of 5 orders. So what do? I have to call the clients and tell them your order is going to be late. It's costing the economy in one way or another.
True.
So we need proper planning. The problem that we have in this country, people are so profit oriented than they are into solution orientation. So if you are solution oriented, you will think, what is the alternative source that we can get for power, right? And then we come into the recycling thing, which is a long-term thing. But look at the green energy. There is solar power and everything. If we can come up with a grid and everything and try to, and bring dignity into that industry. So the challenges are really there. Even from the investors themselves, they're also facing the challenges. But the government and the ministry that is concerned, they really need to be, they need to be aware about the problems that are faced down there. Most of these people, they just sit in a boardroom and they try to imagine the problems. After they come up with recommendations and they try to impose and implement such recommendations.
That's a real challenge.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Not just in the border sector, but across. So
you had mentioned something about the debt of the country, and I'm just reading something here. As of August 2025, total public debt was 11.97 trillion. Against our budget. How much was it?
It was 3.9 or something. Was it? It was below 4 trillion. It was, I think, 3.9.
Yeah, so what they're saying is total public debt so far as of August 2025 is 11.97 trillion. Then the rate to, debt to GDP ratio. Ndio hiyo inakuja 67.4%. That's what you had mentioned. Around 65. So it's 67.4%. And of course, talking of the external debt, ile sasa ya nje, talking of 5.39 trillion as of July 2025. Of course, the figures have changed. From the time that we were doing the budgeting, mpaka sasa hivi they have changed. That now the domestic, we are talking of 6.31 trillion as of July 2025. So this is quite interesting. Yeah, this is quite interesting, and especially 67.4%. This is now our debt, the debt, pesa ambazo tunafaa kulipa against what we produce as a country.
Actually,
it's quite dangerous.
In a layman's language, if you are earning 100 shillings, 67 shillings are going to you are paying something.
Unalipa deni.
So unabaki kujimanage with the balance, which is 30 something shillings.
Well, I saw earlier, is it last week or last week, the cabinet secretary for the Ministry of Finance talking about us having paid quite a big amount of the debt that we are being owed.
Actually, when you look at this country, which country is it Zambia? I think it's Zambia, the one that has a female president. She paid off, it was historic that she paid off one of the largest chunks of and actually Botswana, they paid largest chunks. When you look at a country like Burkina Faso, Burkina Faso, actually they are not funding any project that is ongoing in their country using any foreign debt or debt. It's just people, it's about this. It comes up to the bigger debate. I'm in government, I'm the president, I'm an official in government, I'm in access to the resources of the country. When we borrow, there was during Uhuru's time, there was an amendment that was done, and that is what is ailing us up to today. That all the money borrowed from outside does not need to come direct to the consolidated fund, and then be disbursed to the ministries. It actually gave the executive and the government powers to create more other alternative accounts. So you can borrow money from out there.
Si lazima
ifike hapa kwa consolidated fund. Alafu ndo ipangwe, because when it comes to the consolidated fund, the treasury will be aware about it. So you can borrow money on behalf of Kenya and then create multiple accounts out there, and the money is deposited in those accounts. The same way we are seeing counties. The other day we saw Nairobi County stopped banking with cooperative. It went, I don't know, was it Sidiani Bank or which bank, right? So you find that all these are vested interest of those who occupy those positions of power at the expense of who? The citizens. Now we are repaying our debt, but if we ask ourselves, what is the value? Are we getting value for our money? Are we getting value for, the loan that we are repaying right now? Look at the Eurobond, we are repaying that loan. look at all the debts that we've taken. In fact, this government has taken the highest number of debts in three years, right? So the issue about debt, it's a national issue which needs to be there's an issue of odious debt also. It was brought out by Okiya Omtata, and Jimmy Wanjigi has been championing for that. Any money that was borrowed without authorization of parliament, and of which it has really happened, the government, the executive decides to borrow money without involving the legislature. And parliament is the voice of the people, because MPs are there to represent and to oversight on our behalf. But now the state has the powers to borrow without the approval of parliament. And that's where the issue of odious debt comes in. And they say that the argument is, why should we repay what we did not authorize to be borrowed? We don't know that debt. We don't know it.
We can't trace it.
We can't trace
There's
it.
No accountability.
There is no accountability.
No transparency.
No.
Yeah, quite. It's quite. Actually, I have confirmed, because I heard that news last week. Actually, when this is what they said. There was an administrative decision made by the county in a county executive committee meeting on the October of 28th of October 2025, yenye ilisema kwamba ordered that waweke pesa wapi? Kwa CDN Bank
from cooperative.
Yes.
And we all know cooperative is it's a national bank, but we don't really understand. And the question I usually ask myself, are we even sure that during the collection of these taxes, are they channeled to one account really, honestly? No,
of course. I remember last month, there was that the issue of you remember the Auditor General, yes, raising concerns about the counties having a lot of bank accounts, different bank accounts.
So many.
Yes,
actually,
so many of them, yes.
The leading header, was it 17 or what?
There were so many of them. So which of course raises questions of there are questions, accountability and transparency, which is quite important, and especially with public funds, because we are talking of taxes, we are talking of revenue that belongs to Kenyans, to all the citizens in this country. And therefore, and again, why it is a matter of concern also is because of the fact that the high cost of living.
Yeah, true.
When you're made to pay high taxes.
Yeah.
And again, wewe mwenyewe una hiyo pesa.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you're being pressed, unafinywa, tunasemanga unafungwa kamba, umekazwa kweli. Sisi kama Wakenya tulipe ushuru. Unaona? And then if you're not able to account for that ushuru, then it becomes a problem to Kenyans, and that's why Kenyans get mad about it when they cannot see. So I think when we are talking of development, and when we are talking of these many projects that the government is launching, and the many promises that the president is also issuing and giving Kenyans, well, I mean, it gets us into the bottom line of taxation, whereby we also think further and say that, okay, now that we do not have a problem to pay taxes, like when you are talking of the border registering and whatever, those are levies and something that the government also forms part of the revenue that you're talking about. But then now the problem comes in when we are not able to account. When now Kenyans now start feeling that this money that tunatoa is not being accounted well, it's not playing its role. That's when I think that's where now the problem comes in. So basically, to the listener, this is the Generation Report. It is a summary, or is just a discussion, conversation that gets into the top stories. We highlight and we talk about the top stories that made headlines in the course of the week. And like we started with the president's tour to Ukambani, and it is a tour that he has done in several other places. Starting with the west, Nyanza. We talked of Nyanza. We also talk of Western, and a lot. Again, the Nyota project, the Nyota fund, the young people Nyota program is also something that I know the training for those who qualified for the Nyota program inafaa kuanza Monday, is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, inafaa kuanza Monday. Na sasa walisema kwamba if you did not get that invitation, they were inviting people over the SMS that you qualified for this. And again, I remember the president promising 50,000 to those who will qualify. But again, we've ended up them now talking of 22,000. Of course, there is the taxation aspect of it. Yeah, and Kenyans wametoka nje kulia sana. Hapo kwa ushuru mimi sina shida, because I know like we must pay tax. That is now, hiyo naye ni itakuwa ni lazima tulipe. And especially now the government, pesa inatoka kwa serikali inakuja kwako, lazima utalipa tax.
Okay.
But then now, at what rate?
First of all, you know, this thing is just interesting. I think we lack thinkers in this government, because the Nyota program is just for me, the way I can say, previously it was there was that fund which was later upgraded into the Nyota. What was the name of the other fund?
Is it the youth?
The youth enterprise, wherever.
The youth enterprise fund. Yes.
We have the youth enterprise fund, and behind that there was another fund.
Like let's just say, kila serikali ikiingia inakuja na fund yake. Kuna fund wanaweka ya wamama, kuna fund wataweka ya vijana, sijui ya wafanya biashara.
We have the women enterprise fund, we have the youth fund. Okay, what I want to say is this: starting a business, if you've been into the journey of entrepreneurship, sometimes you will come to realize that capital is important, but besides capital, there's a lot of training which has to go through. You have to go through, and also experience. That's why you'll find that lending institutions will always lend to, you know, businesses that are already existing.
Sure.
Right? A bank will not fund you to start a business. It will fund an existing business for expansion.
Yes, and if it does, of course, it will follow you keenly. If they have to give you their money.
There's a lot of discipline.
Yes.
There's a lot of culture involved into managing a business. You know, mostly discipline and hard work and sacrifice. So you find that most of these youths that are being given 22,000, look at the current cost of living. So you'd say, okay, which business do I start with 22,000 shillings? And then you start to imagine, I can start get a trolley, ninunue smoky.
So everybody will start selling eggs on the streets.
Actually, this is a copycat economy. Today, if you start selling samosa here, and people hear that, okay, samosa iko na pesa, you will see 100 other people coming to do what? To start a similar business.
True.
It's something that we're witnessing in this country. But look at the companies that are controlling the huge chunks of the biggest percentage of our economy. Look at a company like, let's say, KFC. It's a foreign company. Look at Art Cafe, you know. Look at all these companies. They are either foreign companies which have formed, they have branches in this country, or they are companies run by foreigners. It comes down to the kind of education that we receive from school. These are graduates you are giving 22,000. How much did a parent invest in school? You know?
Well, they invested a lot.
The biggest investment of a Kenyan, especially a parent, is education.
It's education.
So your child has come out of school, they are jobless. The best they could do, okay, they are not lucky to go to the Middle East countries to work there, to export or to sell their labor in foreign countries. They are not lucky because you cannot afford the cost. And also the opportunities are also limited. Now, they are back home here. You are still feeding them after they've graduated from school. They live under your roof. You're still paying their bills. At the end, the government comes and says, now we are going to give this child 22,000. 22,000, once you receive that money, you will first use it to solve the existing problems. Right? If the government had said that we are mapping out businesses that are owned by young people and we are trying to promote those businesses, you know, it will make sense.
That will make sense.
But you cannot tell me an employed person, the only thing a Kenyan youth owns is a smartphone. The only thing they struggle every day not to miss is data, so that they can be updated. And now you want to give that person 22,000. Where will that money go? Half of it will go to fund the lifestyle, because they, look at the current economic standing of our country. So the government needs to really be serious about addressing the issue of unemployment. If it's about entrepreneurship, that's a totally different field. Because even what you learn through school in all those years, when you come now doing it practically, you begin another lesson.
What tunasema vitu kwa ground ni tofauti.
Kwa ground vitu zinakuwa tofauti. I have a startup I'm running. It's a delivery company.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I've learned a lot out of that. I'm like, what was I doing in school for this time? Paka saa hii ndo nakuja ku learn such things. There's a lot that we are not told. So, in my honest opinion, these are just tokenism. Yeah, it's a government where people are bribed. Everything is about bribe now. Before you go to vote, you are bribed. For you to go and register as a voter, there's a politician who is giving you something or facilitating the process. When you
paying for your transport,
everything, and that mentality has gotten into us. Now the government, a whole government comes and tells you we are shortlisting. How many of the youths that we have? 70% of our population is young people. How many will you give 22,000? How many did they give that hustler fund?
Yes.
And how much was it?
Well, again, my worry is every other time that when we start these funds, most of the time we end up coming out and telling us now that usually the Auditor General will just not long ago. You remember them coming out and saying that now this project stalled because people never paid back what they were supposed to pay back and so forth. So now tutakuwa tunaanza hii project, alafu tunaanza another, inakuja ina stall, then we go tunaanza nyingine, tunaita jina nyingine, tunaanza inakuja ina stall again. Let me share. I had a conversation last weekend. It happened that for a long time nilifika kule Uhuru Park. Like nilikuwa nimeishi miaka mingi sana sijakanyaga pale. So on Sunday I said, in the afternoon, let me just make my way to Uhuru Park. I see what really happens there. And I'm telling you, young people wako pale wengi on Sundays, and not even nasi Uhuru Park peke yake kwa hizo streets. And then I had a conversation with one, hao wanafanya mambo na kupiga picha, so I just like nilimpatia kazi akanipiga picha, and then I'm like, okay, so tell me umeanza hii kazi when? And this young man is telling me that alimaliza shule last year but akaingia kufanya hiyo kazi. So nikamuuliza, how much does it cost for you to start such kind of a business? Akanambia, you see this camera that I have right now, this is 70,000.
True.
So now I'm looking at the 22,000. Well, not everybody is going, and again, not everybody of course is going to do photography for a living like as the young people, but again, look at the young people. That is where they are headed to. The advancement of technology, we cannot deny. It is here with us, and we have a bigger percentage of the population switching to jobs that are related to technology as we speak right now.
Actually, what is happening, we are living in a third world country, in a first world world. That is what, our leaders still have a third world mentality. Even when they try to address Kenyans, they don't address us as people who can sit down with them and debate issues. There are people who should be forced to do things, right? Now, when we come to the rates of unemployment, there are a lot of factors that contribute to that.
True.
You use electricity in your house. When you load, let's say, tokens worth 100 shillings, how much goes to electricity and how much goes to taxes? Just be honest.
Let me check a message.
Check a message.
a token message. I see like but I know I can see what you're talking about. A bigger there's let's say a big percentage that goes to issues goes to the government. Let me just say that goes back to the government, either to Warma, either to yes.
I have one. I bought electricity. This is just worth 50 shillings. That's the amount.
Yes.
I was given 2.5 units. and other charges is 20.50. Other charges. So the token amount 20.50. So the token amount is 29.50. This 20.90 is other charges. You're not told what these charges are for. The reason as to I'm referring to this, the major factor of production, it's power.
Sure.
Right? I want to set up a factory in Kenya so that I can create employment.
Let me cut you short a bit so that now we can get to the top of the hour. Then once we come back, we are going to finish on that and then continue to some other topics that that made headlines in the course of the week. So this is Radio Generation 88.8 in Nairobi, 90.7 kule Pwani, na pia ukitaka kutufuatilia online, please do so, radiogen.co.ke. That is on Facebook and also on X, and also rgk.co.ke. That is on our online platform. Please follow us. Follow the conversation. Quite interesting here with my guests here.
It's 8 o'clock.
Generation, the home of urban soul. This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Triciah, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
I want to tell you the country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you.
In general, every single jurisdiction would want to be able to have their citizens not traveling out of the country to be able to seek treatment. In the original East African arrangement, it was that they had the different universities kind of specialize in different specialties. Our first president, Kenyatta, realized with the kind of quota we were given, there was no way we were going to get the kind of medical professionals that we required to be able to develop our country and to take care of our healthcare. This issue of medical tourism, it means foreign exchange moving back and forth. There's a lot of movement of people.
It is estimated that recruitment networks are still active in both Kenya and Russia. The Kenyan embassy in Moscow has reported injuries among nationals and others stranded.
External works, we have around 54 skyboxes in here, and the external works equally have started. Some painting, first coat has been done. And more is being done, so I think our visit here is just to make sure that everything is on schedule. We had a team which went to China to confirm, a lot of the other materials which have already arrived.
Whether online at service counters or in field operations, you are the human and institutional face of government. The performance of each entity represented here is in truth the performance of government itself. Across the breadth of our public institutions, the evidence gathered from the self-assessment tool administered by my office revealed both commendable progress and persistent weaknesses. The exercise was not intended to indict, but to illuminate and provide a factual mirror through which we may confront the realities of our governance architecture.
We are preparing our universities to receive learners trained under the competency-based education. The CBE represents a paradigm shift from memorization to mastery, from instruction to innovation. The Ministry of Education will remain steadfast in implementing reforms that make higher education more inclusive, practical, and globally competitive.
So when you walk around and you see children have been sent away from school because of school fees, you get the ministry giving a fee structure. What are they doing in that part of the Constitution? Why should they have a fee structure when the Constitution says the child is entitled to free and compulsory education? And we have enough money in this country to give every student, every pupil in school up to first degree without requiring them to pay any tuition fees or anything like that.
We ask, continue investing in public universities like Nairobi, support research, innovation, and student welfare. When you invest in universities, you invest in Kenya's future.
So it's a great day for Somalia, it's a great day for Somali business communities and the companies who are here integrating with the East African community companies. We thank you to the Kenyan government for its traditional welcoming and hosting of this great forum of the East African community. And we thank you to the East African Community Secretariat who actually done very good job. And we are very glad. As the youngest nation of East African community, we are glad how we are moving fast to integrate our brothers and sisters in the East African community.
This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership. Economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks. These are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters: the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Triciah Wayua, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
And yes, welcome back. This is the Generation Report, of course, brought to you by myself, Triciah Wayua, or Triciah Wayua if you like. And I'm also joined with one guest, Maebe. Is it Maebe? Maobe, Victor, sorry. He has joined us in this conversation. And we are basically looking at the big stories that happened this week, those stories that made headlines all over. That's what we are basically looking at, and we are making sure that just in case you missed any of those, that you will be informed here. And again, we are digging further, having deeper conversations around these stories to ensure that we shape opinions. We also inform decision making out of these conversations that we are doing here, because we really believe that the concerned, those people who need to hear this, they are listening. They're listening to the Generation Report, and even yourself outside there, because everybody has a responsibility to play in the running of this country, by the way. Let's not look at the president alone. Let's not look at the ministers alone. We all have responsibilities as a citizen, because we are all citizens of this Republic of Kenya. Therefore, that's the reason why we are having these kinds of conversation and making sure that we all play our part and we get informed in the right way. We get things in the right perspective so that they can help us in these decision makings. This is Radio Generation 88.8. That is your frequency. If you're tuning in right here in Nairobi, or if you're listening at your neighbor's place or from your neighbor's gadget, please, you can do this from your house. That is on 88.8 here in Nairobi. Mombasa pia mnaweza tegea kupitia 90.7 kule pwani, unategea na unakuwa ndani ya kipindi zaidi. For them that want to follow us on our social media platforms, please do so. Radio Generation, that is on our social media platforms, across all the social media platforms, Radio Gen KE, you'll be able to follow us. You can also follow on our digital platform. That is, you can also tune in, please, because you are able to follow what is happening virtually. Yes, you be able to see everything that is happening here in this show. So please welcome once again. Generation Report still continuing. We are done with the first hour, and now we are in 9 minutes into the second hour. And let me just already just warn you, or mapema kwamba time is usually, the 3 hours are usually so short in this show. Yeah, you won't believe it. Utasikia tu saizi tunaongea kuhusu saa 4. So you'll be like, okay, how has it happened? Because the conversations here are quite interesting, because Kenya is amazing. A lot of things happen every other day. Amazing things. I mean, things that are so interesting when we sit down and converse, because you're able to see things in a different perspective, a perspective that you never thought, yeah, this can be seen from that perspective. Therefore, welcome once again. We were talking about the projects that the president was doing last week. We talked about the issue of the debt. We are talking about the issue of taxation. The last one, we talked about what?
Actually, I was talking about power.
Yes.
The factors of production in relation to the Nyota.
The Nyota yes.
Yeah. Actually, what I was saying is that the cost of energy in Kenya is really expensive. And in recent past, we've seen a lot of companies folding and leaving the country. Actually, just last month, around 157 companies folded, and more have given a notice of folding, so this, or dissolving. So this tells you that how do we create employment when the factors of production are very high, but we are not sitting down to address this as an issue, right? So the bourgeoisie class does not want to address the real issue. They're actually addressing issues or effects of the issues that they should be addressing. Let me ask you, you bought power worth 50 shillings, 20.5 shillings. You've been told it has gone to elsewhere where you are not told where. Actually, you're given power worth 29.5 shillings. Now, in a large scale, can you imagine how much those factories are forming?
That's quite a lot.
When you look at China, the reason as to why China became a world industry, it's first because they adopted communism. And after adopting communism, all strategic factors of production are controlled by the state. The state controls those factors of production and are able to resonate with the masses. Now, when we come to the bourgeoisie versus the proletariats are literally the working class. The working class are the majority in this country. When you look at our poverty index, or look at the amount... Actually, there was an interesting statistics which was showing less than 500,000 Kenyans have more than 500,000 shillings in their bank accounts. You know?
I remember, yes.
You remember. So that tells you that we are living in a country where majority of the citizens, if they don't work today, they will not eat tomorrow. And what kind of a country is that? This is a country that the small class who are at the tip of the pyramid are the people again controlling the leadership of the country. So they're again making decisions, they're making laws. Parliament has become a puppet. It's actually a rubber stamp of the executive. Whatever the executive says, you know, they rubber stamp. Right now they're creating, I was hearing the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki saying that they want to there's a bill in Parliament that intends to create
a fund,
a special, you know, it's a development infrastructure
Actually, let me just play that for you because I already have it here. It was something I was just about to play it. I'm looking at Deputy President talking about the fund that will be used for infrastructure.
Infrastructure,
yes.
whatever fund.
Yes.
You know. So the question now comes in that you are creating all this. Yet you are not able to account for what is existing, you know. That is the challenge we have in this country. Because when you shift and create a new thing, you know, we did away with NHIF, we came up with SHA. Now, accounting for NHIF is becoming almost impossible because you have already created something new. So these are just ways of trying to run away from accountability. Because how do you create a new fund, yet infrastructure is already funded?
It's already factored in the tax. Yes, in the revenue that we do, the revenue allocation.
Why would you create it?
Actually, that is what I was about to ask, because when we talk over the taxes that we have paid, when we are talking of budgeting, we sit, the committee sits down, they are looking at this and this and this requires this amount of money, and it is allocated. But then we are not getting, we are not getting value out of those allocations. And now we are going ahead and talking about creating something different. Creating something. Now we are talking about, I even remember the issue of the tolls where we collect collection of funds. And then now we are like, when we are paying, like for example, when we are paying the fees that we usually pay about the use of the road. See, pale tunalipa already, you're paying already. When we are you're buying
when you're refueling.
Yes, when you're fueling your car, you're fueling your motorbike, you're doing whatever, there is a certain percentage that goes to development, that goes to roads, that goes to such things. So now
you are actually that's double taxation. And the problem that we have, let me just be so clear. We have a problem because those who control the means of production are the same people now who are controlling the leadership of the country. So it's very easy for them to make laws that favor them. When someone owns a road and they're getting benefit out of a road, which is a public amenity, that tells you that this is a capitalist state. And now, if capitalism is not controlled, especially by those people, these bourgeoisies, the people who control the means of production, if these people are not controlled, you know, how do we control these people? There are trade unions. Trade unions should be fighting for the rights of the workers. Oversight groups, you know. We have the opposition in parliament, which is supposed to oversight and speak on behalf of the people. But do we really have such institutions existing? We now have a yes sir parliament, which just approves everything that the executive tables. And now when the deputy president was addressing the people and saying that there is a bill which is going to parliament, he was telling MPs, please pass this bill. And MPs are willing to pass it, you know. When you remember the reason as to why Kenyans went to the streets on June 25th, it was because Parliament failed them. People said we don't want this finance bill, but MPs, it's a directive.
Still pushing,
It's a directive. So the challenge that we are facing in this country, it's because those who control the means of production, they're still the people at the helm of power. And they're actually the people formulating the laws, they're the people in charge of implementation of these laws. So they will pass anything. Are we getting value for our money as Kenyans? We are being overtaxed. Are we getting value for our money? The answer is no. We are not getting value for our money.
And that's why I said we do not have a problem with paying taxes. As long as you are a citizen in this country. Nakumbuka ilikuwa ni rais Moi ama ilikuwa nani ambaye alikuwa anasema kwamba tunalipa ushuru tujitegemee. Ama it's a mantra of KRA or something. Kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea, in short. So basically, you know, when we want services, there are some services that must be provided by the government. So if we want such services, of course, we cannot shy away from paying taxes. That is tuko in agreement. But now the problem is, now after we have collected these funds, we also want to see, as citizens, as taxpayers, people really want to see, there should be that accountability. People want to see value for their money, like you have just put it. Value for the money.
That is actually what we want to see. And when you look at Kenya should be really far from where we are today. Because when you look at how industrious Kenyans are and the amount of wealth in this country, there's a lot of circulation of money in this country. And I don't believe we should be where we are right now. The challenge boils down to leadership and actually the foundation of the nation, where the powerful, the rich, especially leadership has been made a rich man's affair. Because they say that political power without economic power is meaningless. Today, I could be allowed to run for president, but do I have the economic power to help me run for president? I don't. And that is where now the state, those individuals that control actually the oligarchs, that's where they get to have their say by imposing to the people, the leaders that maybe the people did not approve. You're given, you look at the menu. The menu has already been decided for you. So you have to choose either of those who are already there. So in the end, you will find that we must realize our generational mission as especially the young people of this country. And our generational mission is to fight for economic liberation. And in the fight for economic liberation, there is no tribe, there is no religion. All we have is accountability and the laws of the land to be followed. I'm seeing a certain young man, Kenyan, who is going around trying to make people read the Constitution. People need to read the Constitution and understand what their rights are so that they can know who is responsible for what. You'll be surprised if you go out here, utauliza mtu, what is the role of an MCA? Most people don't know.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, people don't understand the role of these leaders. So it becomes really difficult to even tell where the problem is in the first place. Yeah.
Well, okay, that's fair enough on that. There are also other stories that we got this week that's are quite important. We are talking of IEBC summoning the main contestants of the Kaspul by-election. That 27th of this month, we are talking of the by-elections will be happening in our country, but for those areas that need representation. So Kaspul has had a lot of violence.
True.
Not even when the former
the late
the late MP. Yeah. Yes, not even during that time there was still chaos all over. Right now we have really witnessed an escalation of the same, leading to the death of even the loss of lives in that area, which is quite unfortunate, because now you wonder, like, so if you people are really behaving like this while you are not on that seat, what happens
when you have the power?
Once you have the power, and of course both sides, they are really blaming each other. No one, of course, is saying I'm the source of this violence. Everybody's blaming the other. But what I like is that now I think it caught the attention of IEBC, and that is the reason why they summoned these two candidates, so that now they can be able to be questioned. And they said now, after that, they will decide. And this might lead even to disqualification. Actually,
what happens when you look at the history of Kaspul, the former MP, who is now deceased, Ongondowere,
yes.
Ongondowere. I watched one of his documentaries. I think he was trying to narrate how he lost his parents, through an attack from the opponents. It was really bad. By that, he was the target, but he was not at home that day. But he ended up losing the parents. It was really bad when politics becomes personal. Now, look at the son. The son, Boyd
Were, yes,
is being fronted by the Orange Democratic Movement. And now we have the opponent, who is an independent candidate. Now, the opponent was accused to have been having a hand in the passing on of Ongondowere.
Yes.
But now, when you look at the foundation of the politics of Kaspul, the citizens themselves, again, I came to be shocked that they believe the leader that they should elect should be a tough leader, if you understand. They should have that toughness, because it's something that they've been used to over this period of time. However, this is leading to the loss of lives. It's leading to, you cannot run a business in such an environment. There is no stability. Education is being, disrupted, and people will not go on with their normal lives. So what I'd say is that IBC has a code of conduct on how all aspirants should conduct themselves.
Sure.
Because IBC is the body that gives you permission or gives you the authority to proceed to the elections. If it has to go to the side of, let's say, disqualifying the aspirants, it can't disqualify the aspirants. Because if you are causing chaos even before you are elected, just as you said, what if when you are elected, will anyone question you?
It will be.
And that threatens the democratic space in this country. It's not just Kaspool. This thing is happening. We saw about what was happening with the abductions, at the aftermath of the June 25th protest. Now we are seeing there is a Muslim leader guy who shot people. I was listening to that news. He just opened fire, right? And that is what the president was trying. Mwenye akona bunduki and so on. So if these issues start small, if they are not contained at that stage, they end up becoming big issues that we have to deal with as a nation. Now we are talking about threats from militia groups. There have been attacks in the Boni Forest and so on. And now we are talking about a conflict, the larger conflict between Kenya and Uganda, right? So all these things, if they are not stopped, they usually graduate and become a national issue, which sometimes threaten national security. And the responsibility of government is to provide law and order, and again to protect properties and lives. The lives that have been lost in Kaspool, they should not go in vain. The investigating officers should not be compromised. They should come out with reports and tell us who are involved.
Yes.
As much as the candidates are the architects of this, there are those perpetrators of such kind of plans. The people who actually execute those plans, that the people should be brought to book, so that next time when a leader tells you go and attack someone, you already know the consequences of what will come after you. So all that ring, sometimes back they were trying to accuse security officers of being complicit. I think security officers need to come out clean, because the government exists in Kaspool.
Sure.
And they have the government in mkono refu. That's what they usually tell us. So their hand cannot be short when it comes to Kaspool, and they're seated back pretty without telling us what is really happening there.
That makes sense.
The authorities need to be held accountable. And anybody who is there, who is leading the authorities, and if they don't account for that, they can be sued even by other entities in a court of law.
True. That's fair enough. That's fair enough about Kaspool. And of course now IEBC also came out also to say that they are quite prepared, ready for the 27th by-elections. So we should not worry. We should not fear anything. They are quite prepared. Wametupatia assurance. That is IEBC. Well, moving on to something else, EACC raids home and offices of anti-counterfeit boss Gishuge Kabeabea over corruption claims. I'm just reading this one, but of course during the week we have seen EACC really working well for the past few, I think like a month. I have seen really EACC being so active. I've seen EACC really so active for the past like 1 month. I'm just hoping that azitakuwa ni kamata tu na mtu anatoka baadaye without any solution.
When we look at the EACC, there are some questions we also need to ask them. For instance, we've had former governors facing corruption allegations. Some have been apprehended. However, the cases did not go anywhere in court.
A good example, we had the one for Kidero, the former governor of Nairobi County.
And many more.
And many others, yes.
Others, they were acquitted of the charges.
Yes.
What does that tell you? It tells you that, EACC is like, it's a weapon that is, that rungu that you put at the corner of your house that you use wherever you want to use it.
Yes.
Ferdinand Waititu, is in prison right now, right?
Sure.
Because of mismanaging funds when he was governor, right? That one we can say it's a success story, but how successful was it when it was connected with the political standing of this person? Because by the time he's being accused, And the time the crime happened, where was EACC? Right? Now look at they've raided the homes of the
and offices. Yes.
What is really boiling down that we don't really know, right? So EACC needs to come out and disconnect themselves from political, interference. They should not be an arm where, if you are powerful and you are not able to be arrested as an ordinary person, the weapon that the government has is EACC. They begin to summon you, DCI will also come in and so on. So we really question how EACC works. There are people who've been implicated before. Even Mike Sonko was acquitted of his case.
Yes.
Right? What really happens? Is it a bargaining period? Is it a period to try to persuade you to change your stance? Maybe about the current leadership and so on. So EACC should stop being a weapon and serve their own purpose. If EACC was to work the way it's supposed to work constitutionally, so many people will be jailed by now.
But again, I tend to believe that it is not IEBC. I mean, not IBC, EACC alone, which is going to make this fight successful, because we are talking of the OPP also. Yeah. Because before now, somebody comes and claims that you are corrupt. Before now, ufunguliwe mashtaka. There is somebody mwenye amekaa chini akafuatilia ndo aeze kwenda kukupeleka, the office of the OPP. So I think EACC ndo wakuje sasa na mahakama pia ikuje kuachilie. Wango hawajapata enough evidence that you are corrupt.
Okay,
sufficient. Let me say reliable and sufficient. Yes.
Okay, first of all, we have the Auditor General, who audits public accounts, and right now she's a lady, so she comes up with the conclusions or the reports and so on. We've seen disturbing reports, actually, even before we go to the cases that EACC is investigating right now.
Yes.
We have the Hustler Fund. The Hustler Fund, billions of shillings were lost, and they cannot be accounted for. Not just Hustler Funds, most counties right now as it stands, they are not immune. These governors are not immune to prosecution. But now, the EACC is going so slow on such cases. EACC should actually be clear. Right? If they are taking you to court, or if they are accusing you of performing something, before I accuse you, I must have evidence. And I cannot come and we've initiated a case, we've spent millions on that case. Later on, I come and say the court found out that this person did not have sufficient evidence.
Yes, but
sufficient evidence, but where did that money go? The fact is that the money is missing. Right? This is the fact that we have kwa ground. Hakuna do, pesa imepotea. But EACC is struggling to tell us who took the money. Right? How can we believe them?
Maybe it is a different person, not this one when ameletwa kotini.
And who is that different person? He was serving under this person who is already here. That person is not superior than the boss. The boss has already been accused. Where can they give in those other people? Where can they turn them up? It's because this is a fishy game. And also EACC, we've seen they only act after someone has contradicted, or they've given a contradictory statement with the ruling regime. They only start investigating you once you've differed with the ruling regime. And it has happened all over. This not with just this government, even the previous government. So it's a witch hunt, in my opinion.
Okay.
And EACC should stop being weaponized to settle political scores.
Well, let's also move on to something else.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation.
The recruitment date is 17th November 2025. That is coming Monday. And the hours are between 8 a.m. in the morning up to 5 p.m. in the evening. In all the 427 recruitment centers that are distributed throughout the Republic of Kenya, the exercise is free of charge. No corruption. Any of our officers involved in corruption, we will carry out appropriate action.
You've heard the nationwide recruitment of 10,000 police officers is set to proceed because of course ilikuwa imesimamishwa, unakumbuka, yes, by the court ilikuwa imesimamishwa, but now that inaendelea na tumeambiwa kwamba ita resume on Monday. Monday is the 17th, right? Yes, from 17th. So to the listeners, if maybe you're interested, you also want to come and serve the country on the position of a police officer, then there is an opportunity as a young person. Manake umesikia IG pale akisema kwamba stories za corruption, stories za kupeana, inaitwa ni mulungula ama inaitwa nini? That will not work this time round.
Actually, let me give a personal account. I ever took part in that exercise on the great grounds. And first of all, they use a trick. They put you on sun. You are hit by that sun, and then they now tell you to run around the field. It's an elimination method, I understand, of course. But now the challenge came in. Those who had qualified and passed the test from the ground, they were also regrouped again. There were some T-shirts which were given. I think they were red T-shirts, and others are different color. So you're given. So when that person comes, he sees you with a red T-shirt, he knows already you are qualified. So they will, and then now they will find you at medicals. They'll tell you that, we did not find. Let me just give my own opinion on this. When we want to recruit security officers, we need to change the criteria in which we recruit security officers. Who told you that for you to be an army you have to be tall? You don't need to be short. We are no longer in the pre-colonial era where we look at the physical physique and decide now you can make a good officer. No. Are you saying we are talking of now it's about the brains. The brains, Yeah. Right now it's all about is this person stable upstairs? Why do we keep on recruiting police officers for D grades and below? Why? It's because they want puppets that they can control. Why can't they go for the best of the best to serve in the security sector in this country? Why don't they say that out of the results that were released in this country, we find that we had 101 A's, and out of those, as the National Police Service, we are offering half of those positions to go to these candidates. Try to dignify the sector, because security is very critical. It is. There was a reason as to why the exercise was stopped by the courts. What are these reasons? Have the reasons been resolved? Those are the kind of issues that we need to debate as a country. Actually, the major reason behind the halting of the process, of course, was the issue of the mandate. Who holds the mandate to recruit, to train? Yes. Between the National Police Service and the Commission. Yes. Right now, they've resolved that it's the National Police Service. Okay, all I can say, those are issues, but all I can say is that the process ought to be, they said it's totally online. They said it's going to be online this time round. I mean, you start by online. And then now you go now the physical, yes. Yeah. But let's hope that the previous culture of people buying positions, because we've had these allegations. Sure. Hii position inauzwa pesa fulani. It's a bidding. The MP calls and says, I need 10 positions of that. The Nini calls and says, these, according to the ranks, you are given those positions and you bring in people. So the positions have been used for political expediency. And again, they've been used, there's nepotism, there's corruption in that. So the National Police Service has said that no one should pay any mulungula or bribe. Sure, yes. Let them stick to their words. Let them not say what we want to hear. Let us see them doing what we want to see. That is actually all I'd say about this. But for the candidates, I wish them all the best, and let them be patriotic. Those who will be appointed, be patriotic to your country, and also understand the laws of the land. Don't be told attack that person and you're there attacking that person without actually. When the issue comes up, you are the person with your family who bears the the burden of trying to clear yourself. So let us have people who love their country, and people are going to serve this country in a very dedicated manner.
I think that's fair enough. And remember also, it's not only in the police service whereby we are having corruption, because I remember even last time, the teachers recruitment also, we have already witnessed several cases about corruption. Corruption is just all over across, and again we keep on saying that the issue of corruption si ati ni ya wakubwa peke yao, hata sisi, anytime you participate in giving that bribe, you're also a corrupt person.
Actually, what corruption does, it's a culture that it's something. When you do something more than once, it becomes it defines who you are. You can go somewhere, you want maybe a watchman, a gateman to help you park your bike or do something, and then they tell you utaniachia soda. So it starts from that, right? But people need to understand the effects of corruption in the long run. Let's assume there's corruption in the medical sector, and the deserving student is denied an opportunity because they cannot afford the bribe, and then the undeserving one is given the opportunity because they can afford the bribe. What is the quality of the service between the two? That is how it's going to affect each and every person, and you will never know which hands you will fall into, right? So corruption is all over, and actually it's been amplified mostly, especially after after 2013. During Kibaki's time, corruption was being fought. Let's be honest. But after that time, corruption started being legalized in some manner. People say the more you steal, the better, the more comfortable life you live, and the more immune you will become to the law. And that is really what is affecting us as a country. If we are really serious about developing this country and actually addressing the real challenges which are affecting us, unemployment, poverty rates are really high, lack of opportunities and so on, we must address corruption. Recently, China was hanging. Actually, it sentenced their minister he was a minister for, I don't know, foreign affairs or who. I cannot recall clearly, but
I have a colleague here who really likes saying that we really need to do like China. We really need to have laws like what China have. I have colleagues here who keep on saying that.
Actually, if we are really serious about addressing the issue of corruption,
yes,
we must be strict on how we handle the perpetrators of the same. Because you can't be friendly to a corrupt person who is denying patients medicine in an hospital. Or oxygen, selling oxygen. I was hearing that there's some people selling oxygen from public hospitals to private hospitals.
Quite unfortunate.
And then the poor Kenyan who is supposed to access medical services, they are not able to access that. And we want to be friendly with corruption, and at the same time we are talking about development. Development cannot exist where corruption is.
In the same
and that's
sentence.
why it can't be. China in 1976 or 1970s, they were dying of hunger, right? But right now, they're one of the largest economies in the world. Actually, the Chinese president, he held a meeting with the US president. He's seated there, and the president of the US is seated here. How many years apart? China has become a threat to the US
of
right
course.
now.
Yes.
It's because they've fought corruption. It's because they've nationalized all strategic sectors of the economy. The government decides what the people get, the quality of what the people get. This madness of buying KPLC tokens of 50 shillings and you are told 20.5 shillings has gone for other uses that you don't really know. Other uses are individuals
that people cannot really account for.
China has controlled the means of production. Power is affordable. That's why all the global companies are producing in China, including Apple and so on. So if we want to get to those standards of Singapore that the president keeps on preaching about, Singapore did not just exist. There's a lot of sacrifice and pain that goes into developing a successful country. And one of them is to fight corruption. Even if it's your relative, even if it's your son, you have to turn them up and tell them now you have to serve for this period.
But again, now you see it is a process that really needs to start far away. Like inatakiwa ianzie
Culture.
Ni culture inatakiwa ianze mtoto akiwa mdogo, because so far Saizi hata ukiuliza tu Mkenya yote atakwambia mimi nikipata nafasi hata mimi nakula. You know, that is now the mentality that Kenyans have, kwamba saizi mimi nikipata nafasi pia mimi nakula, because nisipokula kuna mtu atakula.
That's a very bad mentality.
No, but I'm giving a fact of, I mean, the mentality of many Kenyans, because they are like, you usipokula kuna mtu yuko pale atakula na hana huruma na wewe na atakula. You see, that is the mentality yenye watu wako nayo. But if now the government ikiwa kwa forefront and not just by just words telling us that we are fighting corruption, we want to see actions like you mentioned. We want to see actions. We don't want the kamata without a fruit. At the end of the day, I think that is now what really discourages people, and people feel like since nikona nimeiba ya kutosha, it can fight for me. Like I know I'll use a fraction of this amount to use, I'll use this in the courts. Nitatumia hii kujidefend, but at the end of the day I'll remain with something in my pocket. That is the mentality. Anyway, just still on corruption, I think this week also there was a report which says that maafisa wa traffic, they are being rated among the leading in terms of kuokota ile, unajua huwa tunasema, like when I was in Mombasa, most of them tunasema ni kusalimiana. Yeah, the boys in blue, they greet you in the morning, they want to shake your hand in the morning. Umeamkaje kijana, umeshinda aje? So and it's not greeting, in short ni kuokota. And what was so alarming is the fact that this thing is not being done by the junior police peke yao. This thing is something that comes from up. That is according to the, wacha kwanza nisome kwa Kiswahili so that I don't get misquoted. Kwamba maafisa wa trafiki nchini wameendelea kusalia mbele katika ufisadi nchini, huku ripoti ya tume ya kupambana na ufisadi ya EACC ikionyesha namna wanavyozoa pesa barabarani kinyume na sheria, of course. Na ni kwamba pia ripoti hiyo pia ikiwa inaonyesha kwamba namna wakuu wa trafiki nchini vile wanavyokusanya ada za kila siku kwa ushirikiano wa vyama vya matatu na wahudumu wa bodaboda na pia matatu. And again now, EACC also came out and said that now they want the police traffic unit scrapped off. And have now the rotational officers being put there because of the audit report that exposed that kind of a rot in terms of corruption in the sector, in that area.
Actually, what I'd say about that is, first of all, it's unfortunate that we've normalized giving bribes. It's very easy for you to spot a police officer who is receiving a bribe. It's very easy. You just need to walk before, and so on. But let me tell you, it's not all about the measures that they are putting. It's about addressing the root cause of the issue. How much is this police officer paid? And once that police officer has collected the bribe, what percentage goes to the boss? So if it starts from up, you've been given an assignment. Umeambiwa sasa hii pesa, wewe in a day you're supposed to give me this amount of money. So for you're already covered by your boss. You will not even be scared. Nowadays they're not even scared. Wanachukua tu pesa kama unaona. If you board a matatu, you will see it. Someone, again, they're using other means. Someone comes and meets the police officer, either at the front or at the back of the vehicle. That is happening. But what is the root cause of all this? We need to look at it deeply. It's because, how do you hire, first of all, these police officers? Secondly, after you've hired them, you've trained them, you are done training them, how are you paying them? What are the living conditions of these police officers? After that, now you come to the, you ask someone, mbona unachukua bribe? They tell you this salary yenye tunalipwa hapa, unadhani inatutosha?
Mshahara duni.
Hii mshahara duni. Then what do you tell that person? You tell them proceed. Then if that is the way that you are, again, the compliance. What are the regulations? In Kenya, laws are very beautiful on paper, but how do we implement such laws? Is there public participation? especially for the matatus and the requirements that they're supposed to have. Because a strict matatu which has complied will find it very difficult to again give another money outside what the government had charged them. Finally, what I think about that, the government is the only body which has the authority to collect revenue from the citizens. But now we have a syndicate which is collecting money that outside the frameworks of the government. This is like a militia, you know? This is like a militia. That's how Mungiki was outlawed. They were actually taking bribes allegedly from matatus, right? Collecting fees.
Yes.
So if the police are now collecting separate fees from the fees that we have to pay to the authorities of the police officers, for instance, you have to pay to our license. At the license, you have to pay a fee, right?
Yes.
Everywhere you go inspection, you have to pay a fee. Everywhere, when you buy that tire, when you fuel that car and everything, now they're collecting another fee outside that. That means that we are weakening the existing systems of government, and it's very easy for you to topple this government, because at the end of it all, these people are making money that is not taxed. Mtu anachukua tu pesa. He has not worked for it. Where does that money go?
Well, okay. Thank you for that perspective. Let's see, because our other guest is already in the studio. Mr. Swale Abraham is going to introduce himself and also give us his submission around what we have just discussed around traffic police and the corruption allegation. I mean, the corruption issue, according to the report that was done by the report was done actually by, because EACC kulingana na ripoti ambayo ilifanyika, kuna hii tume ya mambo na ufisadi. Yes. So karibu sana ndugu yetu.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, and I'm very much sorry. I'm deeply sorry for coming.
Don't worry, it's understandable. Yes.
I had some other activities going on for the party, and you know, you had already given me an opportunity to be here around 7.
Yes.
But immediately we were done talking with you, I got a call from the party that we have some activities that we have been running, that is Sauti ya Mashinani. So we have been in Nakuru, Kakamega, Bungoma. So today it was it was an opportunity for those people from Machakos County, and I could not have missed that one. So we have been there since around 12. I started coming back at around 5. Na unajua
umejaribu masuala ya traffic.
But
yes.
Let me just pick up from where my brother has left. I went to Matu via public means.
Okay.
Now the reason being my colleagues had already left area with the vehicle that we normally use, so I decided to use a matatu kutoka where I live up to CBD, and from CBD to Matu. I'm telling you, I even started asking the driver, see, we just normalize this thing, because every stop starting from Makongeni, they are about Thika to some place up to Yata to Matu.
Yes.
Alikuwa napenda kitu. And you know, the question is not kwa nini unapeana. The question is, as a country, where have we failed? Now, as a country, we have failed because the system that is there is supporting what these people are doing. Because you tell me, if a common mwananchi is seeing whatever is happening na ameiona kwa muda fulani, inamaanisha the government is even aware. So what needs to be looked at as a person, I think not even the law. This is just a culture that, and you know, most of those officers on the road, they're not senior members of the unit. These are just ni kama mtumwa. Umekwa pale ku delegate or ku make sure that the boss is happy. And I want to give you an example. I used to have a friend, I don't want to mention the name because anaweza mwaga unga. Alikuwa anafanya, he was an officer within the CBD in Nairobi. And this officer, there is a time we had a sitting with him just to talk about what is happening with the country and how he feels about some activities. And he told me that, bro, when you're in Nairobi, kuna mali unawekwa na ujewekwa pale kwa sababu unafaa kwa pale. Unawekwa kutekeleza mambo fulani. And it is a culture that has always been there. It has been a trend. Na imefikia to an extent that even the citizens have accepted that now this is the kind or the how we do our things. So officers unawekwa pale, junior officers unawekwa pale kwa ile nafasi, not necessarily to safeguard or to be on duty, but to ensure that your collection imefikia mkubwa to make the boss happy so that the following day unarudishwa pale. If you don't do that, inachukuliwa kwamba maybe unafanya and you're not delivering. Again, unachukua, unajiekea. So you will not be there. And I'm telling you that we have so many officers that have been victims. Siwezi sema kikosi chote ni kibaya, but you have those ones who have been trying to be good to serve the people, and those ones have faced the repercussion whereby unatolewa pale, unaenda. Like my colleague, my friend, he's no longer in the CBD, he's somewhere else. So it is a culture that has been built with these people, and to do away with it, we start with the bosses themselves. You know, I was looking at the system, even the society, since wametuzoesha. Now, you know, in Kenya, when you do makosa, the only way to run away with makosa is to at least shake hand. Na ushasema kusalimiana mkono. Again, the EACC is talking about that issue. I will ask a question to EACC. How many cases has EACC imeshika watu, especially politician and the political class, these big wigs, ikapatiana kwa koti na tukaona matokeo? Because I want to use an example of Lenol Kulal, the former governor. I want to use an example of the former governor from Nairobi, Kidero.
Yes, we just talked about him actually. Yes.
Sorry, if I will be repeating. Wameshikwa, yes. EACC imesema wako na hii na hii na hii. Wamepelekwa pale kotini nini. ODPP amekuja, that current is under Renson Ngonga, right? Amekuja pale anasema hakuna kesi. But you find out that wale wanachiliwa, then unakuja unapata another person, another victim. Let me use the former governor from Migori, Obado. Amekuja akashikwa na the same guys, akapelekwa kotini nini until tumeona juzi that there are some properties that are supposed to be taken. And now we start asking ourselves, is it a question of integrity or the service delivery or a political ally? Because some of these cases, I think, as a young person in this country, I feel like EACC just targets those people who are against the system. And which is the system? Which system are we talking about? It's a system that has given leeway to these people to continue doing this corruption. Because, you know, I don't know how it is going to be taken by the public, but it has reached to an extent whereby when you do corruption, the society rewards you. When you don't do, it doesn't reward you. I'll use an example. Umekuwa kiongozi, umepatiwa one term. Like ile one term tunaongelea. Tumekupea one term. Then you lose election. Then you go to the society. Then you become broke. You have nothing. You used to have power, that motorcade. The society used to fear you. You know, there is a difference between fear and respect. The society feared you. Then umekuja pale, you cannot even afford to pay a school fees for your own kid. The society started judging you. Utasikia watu wanasema, na huyu naye hakujipanga. We gave him this particular power, this particular resources, hakujipanga. Unaona huyu ni society inamjudge. Ukifuatilia kama if that person really delivered on behalf of the citizen, na akatoka vizuri, akanyimwa kura, akaanguka, akaenda one term, akikuja huku nje akianza kujajiwa hivyo, ukifuatilia vizuri unaona labda the little that he was receiving from or she was receiving from the particular docket, kama alifanya ABCD zinaonekana hii iko sawa. But now come ask yourself, we give you one term, then tunakuangusha urudi nyumbani. Ukirudi nyumbani, you're just continuing with your life well, you are flying, you are with your life, you're normal, you are even paying school fees for those underprivileged families. Now the society will be like, huyu alijipanga bwana. So the society ni sisi wenyewe tumemess. Yani it is a scenario whereby tumezoea tunasema in this country there are some things that cannot be done before this. Another example, when you go to any office, when you go to, I don't want to mention any offices here, but most government offices, if you want your assignment or you want the services to be delivered faster, now currently we don't call it corruption, we call it facilitation. You facilitate the person that is giving you those services. So we have reached to an extent whereby hata kama mtu analipwa, just facilitate them. And those ones that are not facilitated, you'll wait. An example, if I want to get a passport, let me use that one because I was a victim. A passport, the government will tell you that the maximum time it can take is about 2 weeks. You have your own passport. So wewe utaenda pale with the mindset and you do all the application, you submit your papers and everything, you are done. Then you go wait for the 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks, you not see the passport. and you find somewhere that maybe the same day you went to apply for that passport, you with another guy is there, wanaweza pata ya within 3 days or within even a week, and you start asking yourself how. Watakwambia njoni kushow ndugu yangu.
They know the corridors better than yourself, yeah. Well, okay. I think so, that yes,
that is what imekuwa ikiendelea. So for us first to shape the government is us as a society. Do we need the leadership of service delivery, or do we need a system that just goes there, passes that 5 year or 10 year or whatever years, irudi tena tunaendelea na hiyo. So as a society, I feel like we're the people who should first start judging ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But my take home was this a bit of where EACC is really pushing that we switch on to the rotational. Yeah, the rotational way of operating that. Ofisa mkuu ameletwa hapa leo, siku 2-3 anaenda kwingine, si eti kwamba umekuja umewekwa pale mpaka until ile siku yenye utapata transfer. Yeah, that could also that could also help.
Yeah, it can work. I agree with you that it can work to some extent, but again, it cannot work. I want to use the Ministry of the Youth and Sports. We have been talking about the National Youth Council election. The former CAs, Ababu Namwamba, was there. Alikuwa ameweka mikakati fulani about the election. No, the last time that NYC had election is about, is it 10 years or around 2012? 2012.
Okay.
So you can imagine from 2012, Ababu Namwamba comes, does that, anaenda anaachia kwa njia, anakuja mwingine Waziri Murkomen, anaachia kwa njia.
Let me cut you short kidogo, alafu now once we come back we need to wrap up that bit so that now we can move to something else, because we still have a lot. I told you 3 hours is little time for this show. Yeah, it's little time for this show, so we still have a lot. We have a lot to discuss that is still lined up for you. So to the listener, this is Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. The show that you are tuned in is the Generation Report. This is just a summary of everything that happened in the course of the week.
It's 9 o'clock.
Did I even introduce myself?
The sound is fine, pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul.
The country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically, and it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you.
In general, every single jurisdiction would want to be able to have their citizens not traveling out of the country to be able to seek treatment. In the original East African arrangement, it was that they had the different universities kind of specialized in different specialties. Our first president, Kenyatta, realized with the kind of quota we were given, there was no way we were going to get the kind of medical professionals that we required to be able to develop our country and to take care of our healthcare. This issue of medical tourism, it means foreign exchange moving back and forth. There's a lot of movement of people.
It is estimated that recruitment networks are still active in both Kenya and Russia. The Kenyan embassy in Moscow has reported injuries among nationals and others stranded.
External works, we have around 54 skyboxes in here, and the external works equally have started. Some painting, first coat has been done. And more is being done, so I think our visit here is just to make sure that everything is on schedule. We had a team which went to China to confirm, a lot of the other materials which have already arrived.
Whether online at service counters or in field operations, you are the human and institutional face of government. The performance of each entity represented here is, in truth, the performance of government itself. Across the breadth of our public institutions, the evidence gathered from the self-assessment tool administered by my office revealed both commendable progress and persistent weaknesses. The exercise was not intended to indict, but to illuminate and provide a factual mirror through which we may confront the realities of our governance architecture.
We are preparing our universities to receive learners trained under the competence-based education. The CBE represents a paradigm shift from memorization to mastery, from instruction to innovation. The Ministry of Education will remain steadfast in implementing reforms that make higher education more inclusive, practical, and globally competitive.
So when you walk around and you see children have been sent away from school because of school fees, you get the ministry giving a fee structure. What are they doing in that part of the Constitution? Why should they have a fee structure when the Constitution says the child is entitled to free and compulsory education? And we have enough money in this country to give every student, every pupil in school up to first degree without requiring them to pay any tuition fees or anything like that.
We ask, continue investing in public universities like Nairobi. Support research, innovation, and student welfare. When you invest in universities, you invest in Kenya's future.
So it's a great day for Somalia. It's a great day for Somali business communities and the companies who are here, integrating with the East African community companies. We thank you to the Kenyan government for its traditional welcoming and hosting of this great forum of the East African community. And we thank you to the East African Community Secretariat who actually done very good job. And we are very glad. As the youngest nation of East African community, we are glad how we are moving fast to integrate our brothers and sisters in the East African community.
Was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters: the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Triciah, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
Quite important. Welcome back. This is the Generation Report right here on Radio Generation, your home of hard truth and bold insights. 88.8 in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa and its environs. And also you can follow us on our digital platform that is at Radio Gen KE. I mean, that is rgk.co.ke, and that is on our other social media platforms. Please follow us at Radio Gen KE. That is Facebook and also X. We have a lot of Kenyans, a lot of people tuned in, watching and following the conversation here. And the conversation actually is quite informing. The conversation is quite interesting. So we continue with the same conversation because people need to be informed. People need to see a different perspective of these big stories that made headlines in the course of the week. My name is Triciah Wayua, and I'm joined by one Victor here, and also Swale is also just joined us. and we are going to finalize what you were discussing about, so that now we can get to something else. We still have the story of Trump still pending, and the AU still pending. We also still have the story of Kina Bob Jagi still pending. We have several stories. We also have the story of ODM. And still we will not fail to talk about what the president did in Ukambani. I know we started with that discussion, but there are some things that we didn't touch on, so please welcome, join us. Let's continue with this conversation. Let's enlighten each other. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to finish on whatever you are talking about, so that now we can switch to something else.
Okay, thank you. I was talking about you talked about the rotation of leadership of those managerial offices, office holders.
Yeah.
To me, I said it is good, and on the other side, it's bad, because I was using the NYC as an example. During the CS Ababu Namwamba, there are some plans that were put in place about the election for the council, for the young people. It went like that. Immediately, he left the office. We had the CS Murkomen. He came there. Some budgets were made. When he left, a lot stopped from there. We had, I think currently we have Waziri Mvurya. It's when we are saying that the budget has been passed, but if we are going to have some cabinet reshuffle, nothing is going to happen. So that one is likely to happen in those same police units, whereby they plan something, then after someone goes to the next office, that thing stops from there. But also it's a good approach to curb that. But I will still state that it must start with the government. It must start with the government and the society as the people. Also, I feel like the bosses need to come out clean, because junior officers will not do that whatever they've been doing, kupeana handshake in every matatu, if they have not been instructed. Also, on the other hand, we have seen those clips online, and even those clips being given to the court, and to at least to act as a whistleblower. Nothing has happened to those officers. Just mention me any officer that was got on camera and is now answering question. I'm not yet seen any of the officers being grilled over the same. The other day I saw a clip circulating on media. I think it was someone within Nairobi CBD arguing with an officer kimwambia hiyo peleka vigilance, and officer is like she was a madam. She was telling the guy hii kama utaki kutoa just peleka huko, utatoa ama utatoa, and the officer alikuwa anaulizwa so how much, akamwambia 50. Like it is something that has been normalized. So before that, we need to start with the bosses. And once the bosses have now agreed, then let's now look at the society. The society should stop rewarding people who are going to loot from them. People who are going to come up with schemes to eat from their sweat. And I'm speaking this as a person and as someone who is bitter, because the society keeps on rewarding individuals that are not supposed to be in those offices. I remember prior to 2022 election, the former Interior CS, Fred Matiang'i, told the nation that we have some people that we know their characters, we know their behaviors. I think he said the Washworth guys, that these are the people that are going to fill that parliament. And when these people are going to fill that parliament, don't expect anything. And I'm telling you, the 13th parliament is one of the worst parliament ever. These are people who cannot discuss anything concerning the Mwananchi.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's fair enough. I don't think we need to add anything else. We can just switch on to something else. And this time around, let's look at privatization, this issue of that bill. But I'm just going to give you each 2 minutes so that now we can move faster. They'll just give you a submission around that. And I'm going to play this. Let me play this, then now we can continue.
Mr. Speaker, the service is in the process of establishing the National Youth Service Enterprises and the Services Company to act as a commercial arm of the National Youth Service commercialization agenda. The process of approval of the regulations and registration of the company is ongoing. At the moment, The registration of that company, of this company, is at the Attorney General's office.
So I decided now, because I was being ignored. So then, the business of the house cannot continue and the mess is in its place. So I decided maybe if I remove the mess from its place.
What role does the mess play?
The mess is a symbolic, is a symbol of the authority of the house.
So when it's sitting in wherever it is,
then you can proceed with business.
So if you remove the mess, you can now not proceed with
you don't proceed with business. So I was just it's just a symbolic. So I now made an attempt to remove it from its place so that we can stop this. After all, the proceedings were illegal in my opinion.
Yes.
There was no quorum and the speaker was refusing to allow me.
Yes.
So on the basis of that, of course, she threw me out, which I think is I think her misconduct. Even if I'm disorderly because I removed the mess, but it was subject to her misconduct for refusing to allow a member to rise on a point of order.
Well, a lot really happens in the parliament. Mambo ni mengi sana ambayo yanafanyika kule. So this is that was an interview that was being done here at Radio Generation by our morning team. We had hosted Robert Ambui.
Yes.
And he's the one actually talking of he tried to grab the maize so that now they can stop the business in the parliament, so that now the privatization bill does not
go through.
Yes, does not
go to the floor.
Yes, and basically as I was starting, I also played about the issue of the NYS. Yeah, the issue of commercializing it. Nimeweka pamoja so that now we can conclude pamoja. Yeah, so that now we can move next. I just want to hear your opinions about what is happening in terms of privatization and the commercialization of some of these agencies and parastatals and bodies.
First of all, I don't support the privatization bill. Of course it was passed, but I don't support it. I'm a member. I'm actually the commander-in-chief of the Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters. There is no way we are going to fight for economic freedom if individuals control and continue to control the strategic means of production. That can never happen. In fact, these people are speaking about privatization and commercializing the national youth and wherever. They're just panna boys. There are people at the background who know how they're going to benefit from that. So 50 plus million Kenyans, they've invested heavily in these government institutions just for you to come out and say that you are going to auction them to the highest bidder. Who is that highest bidder? The same people are involved in corruption scandals. You've stolen 1 billion. You have it in your house. Where do you take that money? You come and look for politicians and tell them now, present this bill in parliament. We want to privatize the national youth wherever. So we want to privatize Kenya Pipeline Corporation. How much does it give to the economy? You already have the statistics. And then you decide, now I'm the one who is going to, you go and look for some muzungu out there, because black people believe that white people are already rich. Once they are properly dressed, they just come and say, we are forming a consortium with this and this and this company. We're actually privatizing this company, but it's your money which was flown out by private jets. It's coming back with a white skin, and you're investing in these corporations. Why don't you invest in the private sector? Where should you auction public assets? Right now we are talking about, I mentioned this earlier, our trade fair, this Ngong Trade Fair Center at Jamhuri Showground. It has already been sold to Chinese people, but it's not being said allegedly. It has not been told to the public. What are we selling? Look at the stadium that we are building, at the same ground opposite the that stadium called the Talanta Stadium. Go there, the writings are in Chinese. I cannot understand what is written there. And actually, it's going to take us a lot of years for us to fully own that stadium. Look at the SGR. SGR, we don't own it. So there is development going on in the country without growth. And that is the challenge that we are facing in this country. And this comes back to the broader debate. This is a war. This is a class war. between the bourgeoisies and the proletariats. The bourgeoisies are the people who own the means of production, and the proletariats are the working class. They are the laboring class who have to wake up every morning, go and sell their labor so that they can get back money, to peanuts actually, to come and afford the products of those who control the means of production. And the life cycle continues. That's why the poverty rate in this country is at 70%. Unemployment rate is unimaginable. Why are you selling companies to private entities? And not for just 5 years. You're selling it for 40 years, 50 years. The other day, Nelson Amenya, who was the great voice in revealing about the Adani deal, he saved our airport from a almost 50-year lease, 50 years, how old will we be in 50 years? Will we even be here, seated here? So the next generation will not really understand what transpired.
What really happened,
and that's why we see there are families in this country who own thousands of kilometers, thousands of hectares of land, right? But we cannot question because we don't understand the process in which they owned those pieces of land. The coming generations will not understand how our public assets were auctioned. We will not be there to tell them how it went, how it went on. So, in what I want to say, because of the interest of time, is this: the government has to control the strategic means of production so that they can be able to control, the prices of these services and commodities or wherever. They have to be in control so that they all, at all times, the elected leaders have to represent the voice of the people, and they have to speak on behalf of the people. They should not speak on behalf of the investors, so that whenever this cost goes up or the means of production become very expensive, the elected leaders can be able to defend the people and say, no, we want the cost of electricity to be this amount. But failure to that, it will be in private hands. They will control energy, they will control water, they will control food, they will control everything. So our job will be waking up every day so that we can try to afford those basic needs which we cannot live without.
That's fair enough.
Also, to add on what my brother has said, most private farms, their basis is to make profit. And I think Kenyans are to be blamed. If you see someone trying to run away from their roles, it means that they have failed. So at the beginning, I will just say that this government has really failed. There is no any other government that tried to do more than what this one is trying to do. Everything, left, right, and center is talking about privatization. And if you dig deep, you realize that they're just using the way my brother said, it's in simple terms, it's a wash game, whereby steal money, take it to someone else. That guy has a company, has whatever he has. Put someone on the tendering, make sure that guy, your guy, gets that tender, comes picked up, then you continue with the business. And I think they're doing this because, at the beginning, during the independence time, we had land. So for those ones who were taking over power, they were focused on grabbing more land. So hawa wamekuja time ambayo mashamba yamepungua. Like where I come from, we no longer have those tracts of land. So plots. So these one, they are in the eras of money. And just as my brothers put it, they are doing all this because they know that in the next 50 years or whatever that year, they will not be there. So they are looking for what we call a generational wealth, or a means to produce more wealth to their families. They are running away from poverty, forgetting that the majority of the country are suffering. And again, on the same, when you do such like a stuff, I'll use an example of when someone does something like that. For example, I come from a village whereby 100 people are poor and only one is rich. Do you know what is going to happen? The moment these people realize that now, this is how they have been trained to think and to live their life. The moment they realize that, no, we can do better and this is not our way of life. Why is it that we are poor and this one is rich? The end goal is going to be that these poor people will go and occupy the house of these rich people. The moment they realize that you got this wealth in a dubious means, the way my brother is putting it. So whatever this government is trying to do is just to try to safeguard their long-term interest, and it's going to affect Kenyans. And the moment Kenya realize that this is not the way we should be doing things, they will have it rough. I don't want to use an example whereby we saw immediately after election, we saw some poor people or the low class people going to grab some items from the former president's home, the condos, na hizo vitu. I'm not using that one as an example, but I'm using an example of these people realizing the power they have and how they should be living and not how they have been trained to think. You know, this is a mentality that someone comes and tells you that this family has always been rich. And your family has ever produced a leader. You understand? So the moment you realize that you have been conditioned to think like that, the moment you understand yourself, now you start to realize yourself, utaanza kusema wamekuwa natubeba ufala. And that is what is happening in Tanzania.
So in future, those are the things people will be calling historical injustices.
Yes.
Due to failed leadership. Yeah, those are some of the things. There is danger in that. I do agree. Well, just to the listener, if maybe you want to make a call, you can do so. That is on our WhatsApp. You can make a WhatsApp call. That is on this number 0116-928683. If you want to make a call or you want to send a message, you also want to participate in the conversation, please do so on our number. That is WhatsApp number, call or message 0116-929683. 0116-928683. And the conversation continues because we had a lot this week, a lot happening this week. Now we are talking of let me play something here. I think I had lined up some few clips here about our leaders.
But before you even play, I wanted to say that our organizing secretary, who is our patron in the Wayua Patriotic Front, the Youth League, that is the Young Wayua Patriots. Our patron is Honorable Mbui, the MP for Kathiani. Whatever he did, he should not regret. In fact, we are happy that we can no longer continue to discuss matters that are not the interests of the citizen. They are our own interests and those investors. And you want to sit there and say, now we're just okay. That's not the order of the day. And taking over the mess was the best approach. Okay. And I think he should not regret at any moment. We are proud and we are happy. Thank you.
Okay, this week also, I saw, let's talk about now the issue of Uganda, the issue of Museveni and our Kenyans who were abducted. Let's say it's abduction, because initially the government of Uganda denied that these Kenyans were in Uganda. But later on, we have heard Museveni coming out and agreeing, confirming that those two Kenyans were in Uganda. Na alisema kwamba he realized they are experts in riots. Yes, a lot of things. And again, looking at some of the comments, let me just play just one clip of that is Jagi Bob, so that now we can say a few things about the story.
I was tortured on the second day during interrogation. I was removed from the cell, blindfolded, taken to a room, chained into a chair like this on one hand, one officer at the back, another officer in the front. The one in the front would hit me with blows while I'm being asked, because they took our phones. And so they would go through the phones and ask us question, who is so-and-so? Who is funding this movement? What have you come here to Uganda to do?
I was tied to something like this, and I was whipped severally, and they could ask me questions about some of those groups that we were in.
Well, a lot of analysts, a lot of people have come out to say Museveni is prone, likes using metaphors, literally the fridge that he talked about, of course it is not the issue of fridge, but it's keeping these Kenyans in a manner that they cannot reach their people, they cannot, and also the sufferings that they went through. That is basically what he meant. And then now somebody asked me a question yesterday, and they were like, okay, we have the East African Parliament.
The Yala.
Yes, we have the East African Parliament. We have other agreements that we have on how we should live together as neighbors. So the question was, where are they while some of these leaders are making this kind of statements and doing the the kind of things that they are doing. We have seen people of decent voices, especially like Uganda, the opposition leader, up to today. Naona pali yako.
Yes.
Uganda, I mean Tanzania, we also saw the same issues that somebody is being released. Time ikishafika mwisho. So now the question is, where are these body? The African Union, like we saw the chair of the commission coming out and calling out.
Yes.
Of course, he congratulated Samia Suluhu.
Yes.
And later on, I've also seen him coming out. I will play some clip here about what he questioned Donald Trump about some statement that he did about Nigeria, the attacks that are being done there, when he alleged that it's like they are against now the Christians, but he came out and responded to that. So I just want us to say something around these bodies. What do they do while we are going through these problems that we are going through?
I want to comment on the issue of Tanzania and Uganda, and the uselessness that has been exposed about the AU up to date. I think no member of the African state with sane mind can say that AU has done anything to benefit the citizen. First of all, the AU, who are the funders of the same, who are the people channeling funds in that particular organization. So he who feeds you controls you.
Yes.
So if they've been receiving funds from outside Africa, it means that those people, whatever happens here, they don't care, because they are not the one funding that particular body. So as a young person in this particular country and region, we are failed from whoever feeds us, because he will always control us. Again, I was not surprised on the issue of Bob and Oyo, because whatever happened, it has been happening here within our own territories, and nobody comes out to talk about it. It was until the former AG, the former speaker, Justin Muturi, came out and said, no, my son was taken, and I called individual ABCD to get my son. So what happened to these people, to these other people, like my mother in the village and my father in the village? Where will they go if they don't have any links to such like things? So whatever happened to these guys, it didn't come to me as a surprise, because this country, an individual, a Ugandan citizen, is captured, taken back to their country, and is taken to police military, and they're speaking nothing. The case of Kizza Besigye. You also look at what happened to this lady from Tanzania. She was also picked from this particular country, taken to her country, and we all see the result. So whatever happened to these two guys, to these great men, it was something that was expected, and it has exposed how we relate with other countries in terms of like what is the work of now the CS for foreign affairs and diaspora. It has really failed. It cannot take you a whole 38 days not giving a statement about your own citizen, and you getting your salary, you are just there showing up your faces in different media stations, and you're not giving any response concerning these particular people. Also, I think as a country, it has reached an extent whereby we need to relook into whatever the leadership we are putting in place. You know, initially it used to be kukichafuka huko kwingine. For example, in Uganda, in Tanzania, people used to come here.
Yes.
And that's why I will tell you that during my days in campus, most of my lecturers were from Uganda. Why? Because they came to this particular country during those times when Uganda was in a mess. And they came because this country was peaceful. Ask yourself, why are these things happening during this particular time? Why were they not happening before? Why were no citizens from different countries being arrested within our territory during these particular other regimes? Why is it that is only happening during this particular regime? It means that this particular regime is the one facilitating, or if it's not facilitating, it has kept silent as these things continue to happen. And you know, a country like Uganda abducting our two individuals and we speaking nothing, like it is something that is just open. How were we handling our own Gen Zs when they were in the streets? We were abducting them. So Museveni was just following the trend of our own territory. Again, Mzee felt like these people now, they're experts in riots, and they are normally putting the government into standstill, so they might be here to give that particular courage to these particular young people of Uganda, and that is an insult to the Ugandan people. Ugandan people can save themselves. They don't need us to go there to save them. They can do that particular job and business and sort it out. Look at what happened in Tanzania. It's not that Kenyans went there. It's only that they have learned something. Kenyans are fond of speaking for themselves. The only challenge you have is we speak for ourselves, but when we go to elect individuals, I don't know what normally happens. An individual is brave immediately after an election and before election, but during election, we are not brave. That's the challenge that we have as a Kenyan. But look at Tanzania. Ask yourself, kama wamekuwa kinyamaza for all that particular time, and until this particular election is when they are coming out, what has always been their challenge, or what has always been keeping them silent? Si eti wameamuka tu sahi wakaanza kuona nini, ni kwa sababu wamefinyika. I've never seen a Tanzanian who can go to the street like how we did in our territory in 2024. I've never. In fact, they were looking at us as if it is a movie being acted in Kenya. But it's because now they have realized that no, these people have conditioned us to think that I've had some opportunity to stay there for about 2 years in Iringa and some places around Dar es Salaam there. And you see, when you're in the village, when you're in the villages in Tanzania, there is that barrier between the citizen and the government. I think individuals have been trained whereby when you see a government official, when you hear a government, una shrink.
That's fear.
That fear, you understand? But now these people have realized that no, we have been fearing these people, and these people have been enjoying on our behalf. Now we need to come out and speak for ourselves. No one is going to speak for ourselves. So whatever is happening is that as much as we are going to continue fighting these evils, these people are also going to come up with another ideas to capture them. But I strongly condemn. And you see, I think we have... So
thank you. You need to land because of time. We are not going to cover the rest of the stories because we also want to hear your opinion, just 1 minute, so that we can get to the next one.
I'll be a bit brief. All I'd say is that we are in the age and the initial stages of the third liberation, which is economic liberation in Africa. The first one, as I said, was to get independence from the white people. The second one became about fighting for democracy and human rights and multipartyism. Now we are in the age of fighting for economic liberation. And in this fight, I think this Gen Z generation, it's really ripe for it because they are able to look at things objectively. They are able to get out of the tribal cocoons and all the other barriers that have been bringing them down. And the case of Bob Njagi, in relation to what I'm just saying, is that Bob Njagi, they feel like in Kenya, of which we feel like, we are above the democratic space. We are really free to express ourselves. But look at Uganda. Museveni took power through the bush. Look at Tanzania. Suluhu did not get elected. She never campaigned. She was just selected. And when you look at all this, when we go to other unfamiliar territories, there is going to be, that kind of fear from the state that these things might come out and turn out like what turned out in Kenya. And that's why, and actually we thank God that Museveni did not, he spared the lives of our two brothers. Because Museveni said whoever wants to take power from him has to take it through the bush. So Bobi Wine is trying to do a great job of trying to introduce democracy in Uganda. And Museveni is holding back to the old thoughts of like, power is taken, not given. Power, you have to fight for it. You have to struggle for it. So the presence of Bob Njagi being involved in the Gen Z protest in Kenya triggered some kind of fear into the government of Uganda. But we thank God that, they came out alive, and our Foreign Affairs Ministry, I think, is just a position of rewarding political loyalty. And people who just, wherever they are satisfied, like Mudavadi, they don't speak much. And I think that is the reason as to why Mudavadi was not able to comment for 38 days. Perhaps he was waiting for a confirmation from the house, from the house on the hill, whether should he comment or should he not, because because he has to act in an auto manner wherever he's addressing any diplomatic issue about concerning the two different countries.
Well, what I would say, just being honest, is that the way our government used to look at some of these things, and especially the safety of Kenyans, and especially like these ones who are being branded as riot leaders. Initially, we had during that first time what they said about Kenyans crossing over to other countries, and of course we've had so many other leaders also coming out and saying, of course you need to understand that when you go to a different country, of course the laws in that country applies. But now we cannot also overrun the issue of human rights.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. I mean, laws zenu zikoaje. The utmost thing that we need to uphold as countries, as neighbors, of course, is the respect to life is quite important, and also respect to human rights are quite important. So I think my conclusion will be that because of the protests that Kenyans have been doing, of course, and the work of the human rights defenders, activists, we've seen they really pressed on this issue of Kina Bob.
Yes,
they really pressed, and I think it took the intervention of the former president to be able to have these guys being released, and the CS foreign also came out and said, like,
but you see, he's only coming out after everything has happened. You ask yourself, if the former can do that, what is the current doing? And now we are talking about privatization, we are talking about finance. We only focus.
I think they have a lot. They have a lot.
Yeah,
you see, they have a lot. They are doing a lot for the country. Yes. They're very busy. Anyway, so I think we really we are sorry for what they went through. And of course, like you said, we thank God that they are back to the country safe. That is what's important. And even for those who are also in Tanzania also, and those who are still currently in Tanzania, we also pray that for your safety, so that now mtarudi Kenya salama. But we also urge the government, like, your citizens are your citizens, wherever they are. Yeah. They are your property, and wherever they are, because you don't want to let Kenyans to be on their own when to be their own when they are in trouble in those countries, but when they are bringing in revenue to the country, because like I heard the other day the president akisifu sana Wakenya ambao wako kule Gulf, yes, how much they are bringing, how much they are they are contributing into the economy of the country. So I think as you celebrate them when they are bringing in big amounts of money to the economy, also be there for them when they are going through problems or challenges in those foreign countries.
By the way, speaking of that's a very nice topic about the issue to do with Uganda and us Kenyans and how our two brothers were abducted. Do you know that we have scenarios that happen to our brothers and sisters who go to the Gulf, and the government has never talked about it? Also, you will see someone amekufia huko, alafu it takes too much it needs to take too much attention before even the government comes and speaks on their behalf. I just saw the other day, after this Boba and Oyo scenario in Uganda happened, that now the waziri anakuja anasema that we have some mothers giving birth while outside the country. Where were these people? Because this is a trend that has been happening, and I don't want to mention a country, but our young people who have been going outside this country to look for pastures, they are really suffering. They are going through a lot, and you ask yourself, why are we suffering? And there is that state, there is that department, there is that ministry to help us solve our issues. We need to improve on our relationship with other nations. Well,
yes, and again, like we also would want to. I would commend the president also. Like the other day, we saw he's trying to do something with the Gulf countries. Yes, about now the agreements of. I mean, what happens to our citizens when they come to your country? Because them, they are strict. We all agree those countries are strict, and of course you are not going to force your laws into them. Yeah, so I think whatever, but at least now
we have universal human rights.
Yes, kuna universal. Yes, so now whatever now the country is doing, let them up the game. We really want to see fruits. I think that's the conclusion of this. All that's how we're going to conclude this. You're not you're not agreeing.
I'm not agreeing because we can't be happy as a country when we are exporting labor to other countries.
That's a very big story. I don't want us to discuss about that story. I don't want us to open that story.
Why should the head of state stand there and say we have created employment and many young people are going outside? Why are we not creating it within our territory?
They're energetic. They have the energy. They have the ideas. You should be ashamed.
Let's hear this.
In future, we are going to have wars. In the future, we're going to have wars. How can you say that you are in a block of flats, that the compound belongs to only the flats on the ground floor, but the compound belongs to the whole block. All the flats are entitled to the compound.
Yeah.
There's no way you can say. So may I just watch these people? You are really endangering yourself. How can you have a situation like this? Uganda is landlocked inside here. But where is my ocean? My ocean is the Indian Ocean. So, no, it belongs, really, me. I'm on the top floor of the block. And then you say the compound belongs only the ones on the ground floor. This is madness.
That is the Uganda's President Museveni. You've heard what he has talked about, and my worry is how in that statement how he, when he talked about we will have problems in future. Okay. It is quite it is a very big problem. And again, looking at I was just looking at some story explanation of what happened before. Like, we were not there in 1970s somewhere when the president of Uganda yes, when they were claiming
that they stretch up to Naivasha.
They stretch up to Naivasha. So
the soldiers were shown dust. So let him
and also some part of Tanzania also. Yeah. So I don't know. It is not even the first time that we are hearing this kind of claims. We also saw the Migingo. It isn't a Migingo, ama inaitwa nini?
Migingo.
Yes. Yeah. We've always had problems, and I think that's why now I was calling out the issue of the African Union, the issue of East African Parliament. Like they need to come out and call out these leaders who are just standing up and making such kind of statements, because this is not a light statement to make, saying that in future we will have wars around that.
And you see, he will not be there in the future, so he's just igniting the citizen to think like that.
Yes.
And of course, as a head of state, I think I don't know what he meant, but I literally mean it was just a joke, because I've seen what the explanation. You look at where Uganda is, and you look at where the Indian Ocean is, and maybe he should have existed during those times when we were being colonized, because most of these landmarks and whatever the maps we are having, they were drawn during those particular times and stating that this is Kenya, this is Uganda, and everything. But the way we are now, I think he was. I take it as a joke. It has no any other explanation. Yeah.
Drawing back, I think it was in 1987. There was a conflict between Kenya and Uganda, where security forces are along the border. I think it's the Malaba border. So there was some brushing. We lost about 56 soldiers, but the war ended prematurely. I think Kenya overpowered Uganda even before they started. So Uganda had a conflict also with Tanzania, I think in 1978, which during Obote's time, Idi Amin's time. And I think that is what led to the collapse of the Idi Amin regime in those times. So what Museveni is saying, of course, I am advocating for a borderless Africa. I don't advocate for these boundaries, because these are imaginary lines which were drawn by the white man. The white man went back, he retreated, but we are holding on to them. if Uganda wants to access the Indian Ocean, there are better ways to access the Indian Ocean. There should be trade treaties. Now, look at ourselves now. Look at River Nile. There is a treaty that we cannot access, we cannot use River Nile for irrigation and other things. It's a treaty between Kenya and Egypt, right? But it passes right, within our borders. So the thing is
actually
that
starts.
It actually
starts here.
Yeah.
So the question is, it's not about being on the first floor, as he's putting it, or the 7th floor, the 15th floor, and being on the ground floor. The question is, what are the regulations in place? What are the treaties? What are the policies in place? Uganda can actually use the Indian Ocean through diplomatic agreements with Kenya without necessarily going to war. Uganda is approximately 800 kilometers. From the Indian Ocean to Uganda, it's approximately 800 kilometers. That's around 500 miles.
Yes.
How is Museveni going to capture, Indian Ocean? Museveni jokes too much. Have you ever looked at their parade during during these celebrations? They are more into the physical more than the thinking. And I think this is the period where we need a transitional change in Africa in terms of leadership. People who can actually see things in a different way more than the way the older generation used to see it. Museveni thinks the only way to access the Indian Ocean is through war. No!
Because that is how we got power.
We can have diplomatic means because these countries interrely on each other. There's things that we get power from Uganda.
Yes.
They get to access our port. And as I conclude on this issue, look at the coastline between Kenya. The distance of the coastline in Kenya versus the distance in the coastline in Tanzania. Museveni should actually capture some part of Tanzania
before he
thinks about capturing some part of Kenya, because Kenya, we have a very small coastline. Somalia was actually the other day trying to get it. Uganda wants it. Why is it Kenya?
Actually, that was my question, because looking at all the countries that are, if it is a matter of neighbors, the countries that are along the coastal line, we have Tanzania, we have Kenya, we have Somalia. Why Kenya?
And Kenya just has a small.
Why Kenya?
But
anyway,
I think it is happening because he thought after capturing these two guys. Now, to me, I see it like a diversion idea, because you saw after they were captured, we started talking about how they are inhuman. You understand? Then when we're now pressing on, you heard about them now talking about capturing the ocean.
And ask yourself, sorry to interrupt, why come at this time that we are 21 months to election? Someone could also not want to go to an election. With an excuse that we're in a conflict.
These are just some diversion ideas.
Okay, we are left with 10 minutes only. Yeah, we are left with 10 minutes only. We have two things to talk about. We have ODM, and we also have the President Ukambani or something, and the United Opposition, how they are receiving what is happening. So I'm going to give you ODM. I'm going to give you
Wiper.
Yes, and the president issue. So whatever, I'm going to play this, then now we can get into that.
Mesikia mazungumzo za magawanyiko ya chama. Sahau ya yote. Baba alikuwa anasema hiyo ni nini ya chura? Kilio cha chura ama nini? Kelele cha chura. You know, when you have a great tragedy, people get confused and they act in strange ways. Lakini if anyone is thinking like that, wajua kwamba ODM inajenga na hatuna mchezo. ODM si chama kilichojazaliwa kama siri. Nasikia kuna wengine ambao wanatembea nasi mchana, lakini usiku wanajaribu kuuza hii chama. Haiwezekani. ODM was not born in a bedroom. It was not made in a bedroom. So its future will not be discussed as pillow talk. It has been the heartbeat of the Kenyan people for 20 years. ODM was born from protest. It was raised in resistance. And the people of ODM have time and time again bled, sweat, and shed tears for this country called Kenya. We are sorry that we don't always get it right. Oleni. But we will never be sorry for being inconvenient. They like to call us a party of goons. What we're doing is nation building. Nation building is untidy. Nation building is inconvenient. Nation building is uncomfortable. Nation building has left us in tears as ODM, as the People's Party, time and time again. But we, ODM, belong to the people. And we will continue growing because the young people of ODM have conviction. It means something. Haki ya Mungu, it means something that after Baba's death, these young people are still sitting in this place because they have conviction.
Wale majamaa wengine hawana mpango yoyote. Kazi yao ni ukabila na chuki. Akili yao inaishia kwa kugawanya shares ya serikali. Ati mnasikia ati wanaume 5 wanaenda kuketi chini, ati wanagawa serikali ya Kenya, ati wewe chukua 50%, wewe chukua 10%, wewe chukua 20%. Mimi nataka niwaambie wale, serikali si yenu bwana. Mimi nawauliza ndugu watu wa Samburu, msikubali tusomeshe watoto wa Kenya na watoto wa hapa Samburu wabaki nyumbani.
Well, the previous one was Raila's daughter, Winnie Odinga. And of course, we have heard a lot of rumors around the ODM breaking. Of course, we have been seeing their leaders. We've been listening to all of them. We hear what they are saying. And one thing that is coming out about ODM is how ODM was formed and the fact that how it has been built. Yeah, ODM is a party that most of the time has been related to the local mwananchi.
Yes.
Most of the time, and that's how it was started, and that's how it has been built, and that's why it has that mass following. How it was able to get to garner that mass following. So that is Winnie talking about those who are trying to split the party. Right now, as we are speaking, people are in Mombasa. The president is in Mombasa. They are having that dinner about ambao walianzisha chama cha ODM. Yeah, so I just want you to say, give a submission. 2 minutes about your chama. Like, what is your take about ODM? Do you think ODM bado iko intact ama ODM iko na shida?
I've been a member of ODM party, and it's perfect time for me to talk about this. First of all, ODM is a party that has been built on it's a revolutionary party. But again, after the June 2024 protest, we saw the party leader Raila Odinga had a handshake with William Ruto. Of course, William Ruto was so unpopular, and people had gone to the street across all divide just to complain about the leadership. However, the party leader of ODM saw it wise to shake hands with him so that he could unite the country and to prevent a possible military takeover, as it was said by Oburu. Listening to Winnie Odinga, she sounds like she's going to be the Nzinga. I don't know whether you've heard about the Nzinga.
Yes.
Queen Nzinga. Queen Nzinga took over her father, despite the brother who was supposed to succeed the father.
Yes.
So Winnie has realized that if we don't go back to the people at this point, ODM might not exist at the aftermath of the 2027 elections.
Yes.
Which is true. So what is happening? There are those who have vested interest within the ODM party, especially those who were appointed to positions of power, especially in the ministries, Kinambadis and so on. And there's also the other team of the young Turks. I also heard Babu Owino speak that why was he left out during the installation of the leadership, the top leadership of the party. And he said that even Babu Owino can be a party leader. So this tells you that there are divisions within the party, and the only person who could hold this party together is no longer there. He can't talk, he can't speak, he can't appear. So this tells us that during 2027 elections, there could be a division in the party where some will side with the sitting regime and some will go outside and join the opposition. And myself, I will always support where the people are, and the people are in the opposition side and not in the broad-based government.
Thank you.
Maybe before you ask me, I think my brother is correct. And so far, the way I've observed the ODM, since it was started then until the exit of Baba, we have 3 factions.
Mm-hmm.
We have the faction that has nothing to lose. those are second-term governors, and those old people who have nothing to lose. Those ones are speaking their language. Then we have the faction who are looking for survival. Survival is the way he has put it. Those ones who are picked from the party to go to in the name of experts, and those who are looking for the second-time governorship and positions. I don't want to mention them. And the last team, which is looking for growth. People who are focused that this ODM can go beyond this. But you see, all these people are speaking from different angles, different languages, and each one is fighting the other one. So that is what they are in now.
Okay, we've had the president calling the united opposition as people who are agendaless, that they don't have an agenda. The agenda is only one
term.
Yes, one term. Peke yake Ruto
you see,
must go. And let me just land. So this week we have seen he has gone into company, promised a lot of things. Kuna barabara kwanza ya huko kwa nyanyangu nilisikia ikisema ile ya emali wote ikisemekana kwamba itatengezwa, and promised a lot of things, of course. So I just want you to, and as most of the time actually I've had him call the opposition brainless people, and so many other words. And we've been talking about these politics of insults and so forth. So now the question now is, I mean, where are we heading to?
As a country, we are heading to the wrong direction. That is one. Number two, when I come to your home and I insult you, do you know that I've insulted your husband and your kids and your grandkids, if you have them? By the fact that I've told you that we hauna akili. So I think, and I'm speaking that while I'm at your homestead. That one to the president, I think it was not a good gesture. He would have used other terms and other means to lure the people on his side. But going to the region and calling names and telling them that hawa watu hawana agenda na hawana akili, that is an insult to the whole community, especially as, for example, I'm a Wiper member. The people that are being insulted, they are from a community, they have families. So once you insult their head, it means that you have insulted the whole generation. I think that is not the kind of politics we want to go to. Also, I've had an opportunity to travel from Mali to Wote, and that road is in a pathetic state. I'm told it has been launched for several times. This is not the first time it is being launched. And my point on that is, I think we have had enough of launches. What we need to focus on is, can something just be done? Then we go open. Wacha kitu tuifanywe. Then we go and open.
Okay.
Because I will give you an example. Even in my community where I come from, there is a particular project that was launched. It is just there. I'm sure they're taking some time to buy some time, then they will come back there to relaunch. So those are not the kind of politics we are doing. And you see, they're focusing on those ones to lure the community